Hey everybody, I'm Nick Von Walkerbarth and you're listening to the Von Dubcast. I like to do a little bit of intro where I talk about what's happening in my life, a little bit of background on the guest, what I felt going into the interview, what I thought of the interview, and just whatever else is going on. If you'd like to jump right to the interview, you can skip to 10 minutes. If not, we have one sponsor and we'll get right into it. Today's episode is brought to you by Freshie in Grand Prairie. Freshie is it's kind of like a mixture between fast food and health food. It's quick, it's easy, and you get delicious, healthy food. It's a pillar in my journey to try and be healthy. It's usually sometimes the only thing I do that's healthy in a day, but it's always there for me and I really enjoy it. If you're ever in GP, please stop by and check them out. Hey everybody, episode 116 of the Von Dubcast. It's quite the long episode here, so I'll try and keep the intro nice and short, and every time I say that, I make it long as all hell. These two gentlemen, Ben and Joseph, they both grew up in crete, Alberta, which is quite far up north, and I think we get into it a little bit. It's a very particular community, and they do things a certain way, and there's certain industries that kind of everybody works in, and if you buck the trend and kind of go your own way, sometimes it's not met with the most compassion or understanding, and these two guys really fell in love with cryptocurrency and the whole world of blockchain and Bitcoin and everything, and full disclosure, I know fuck all compared to these guys, and as they like to tell me, they know fuck all compared to the guys that really know this stuff. It's just such a deep rabbit hole, but I find it fascinating. I find the technology fascinating. I found the communities around it, the people, the opportunities for what it can be. I just find it endlessly interesting. And these guys have put skin in the game and have learned some hard lessons and have, made some amazing strides and lost everything multiple times. And at no point did that dim their passion. And I think that was evidenced from the moment we met and the moment we started talking. I think you guys have probably heard this story if you listened to the episode. I think it was called Slave Lake Recap or Trip to Slave Lake Recap. That was the trip that I met these guys on. But it was just so weird how it all came to be and how we got connected and then just how quickly we headed off. And we probably talked for, including this podcast, I'm going to say on that one day, it was probably at least 9 hours, if not more. So like what you guys are hearing of this 3 or 4 hours, whatever we did for this podcast, is the continuation of a full day of me asking questions and getting to know them and hearing their story and laughing and cracking jokes. And it was just an amazing day. And I've been so excited to get this episode released. And part of what has taken it so long is that Ben and Joseph are actually starting a YouTube channel called The Blockchain Bros that they are going to be putting out that tells their story and where they've come from and all the lessons that they've learned, and also helps people start their own MetaMask account and get into crypto, and not through one of those third party like crypto.com or Wealthsimple where you're not actually buying any cryptocurrency. You're just, getting a slip of paper from a company that they are telling you they bought it or they owe you an amount of money as if you did buy it. But that's kind of flies in the face of what blockchain technology is supposed to be and what these cryptocurrencies are supposed to be. And for guys like this that really understand it, they want to make sure people aren't getting screwed over and that they are putting the power in their own hands. And I think that's beautiful. And just to get to know these gentlemen a little bit deeper, I'm so excited to see what they're going to do with this YouTube channel and see where they're going to take it, because they have such a work ethic and such a good heart. I mean, this sounds so hippy dippy, and for people that listen to this podcast are probably not surprised because that's kind of who I am, but I just believe in who they are as people. They're very kind and very, righteous is not the right word, but they just have a good moral compass. You can tell it from the minute you shake their hand. They got a good head on their shoulders, and they've learned so many hard lessons and haven't been jaded by it. I just find it so beautiful, and I'm so excited to watch just everything they're going to do with it. And I can't wait to support them anyway and help, with my podcast, have them on time and time again to help document their journey with what they're doing. I really believe that if they keep at it, it will be a success. And that, just kind of like what I talk about all the time with this podcast is there's a certain point you get to where it's just about not giving up. And as long as you don't lose the passion and the fire and you don't give up, it's going to be a success. It's just about timeline and how far you're willing to take it. And that's exactly what I feel about these two guys. And I can't wait for them to get it going. And I think it's right near the finish line. They're just about got it ready to go. As soon as they do, as soon as the channel goes live, you will hear from it from me. I'll put it on all my social media channels, and please go check them out and hear from their own words who they are and what they want to do with that YouTube channel. But before that, I think this is an amazing introduction and taster into who these guys are as people and why they're so passionate about this and what they've gone through. Like, I'm telling you guys, this story is maybe because we had so many talks before, we actually got on the podcast and recorded it. And there's also certain things that maybe are too sensitive to talk about it as in depth as we would when it was just the three of us in the office bullshitting. But this is a crazy story you're about to hear, and this is maybe 50% of it. There's so much more to it, and maybe in the future, as you know, the comfortability grows and both of us become more established, maybe more of that will come out. But it was just absolutely jaw-dropping to hear what these guys have been through and just how it hasn't affected them and how they just keep pushing through it. I feel like I'm just repeating myself now, but it's amazing. And it fills me with a lot of joy to know that I get to bring these guys to you listeners, and I appreciate you so much. And I need that right now. If I'm honest with you guys, I'm going through some really, really tough shit right now. I think just meditating before trying to do this intro kind of allowed some time. I think over the holidays, I was just, escaping with, family and entertaining yourself. And if I'm honest, probably smoking too much weed and just trying to escape because I just really don't like the way I'm feeling lately. And it's a bad cycle and it feeds into itself, and not sleeping. And, I think I've slept maybe like 4 or 5 good hours in the last like 2 weeks. I'm just, it's not very fun, and there's so many reasons for it, and it's not something I could cover in this intro. And I know I need to do a solo episode because they're so cathartic, and I can get all those things that are on my mind out. But I just I'm so depressed. And feeling so shitty. It's really hard to get the motivation to do that. So yeah, it's been tough, and I've been able to work a few things back in. I've been trying to get a little bit of exercise in because I know that helps, and eating a little bit healthier. I mean, I'm talking about that. I haven't been eating healthier. I need to do that. Drinking more water. I'm trying to really make a crackdown. I think just kind of as I'm talking and as I was thinking before this intro, I just really am realizing what kind of changes I need to make and really stick to them, and maybe go on a little bit of a health kick here just to bring myself more in line with what I need. I think it's just been a really tough go, and I think I hate complaining about it because I feel like everyone's going through a tough go right now, and that shouldn't discount what I'm feeling, but I just, so many people have it worse than me, and I'm so lucky to have the problems that I have. And I've talked about this all the time on the podcast. The worst thing you've ever experienced is the worst thing you've ever experienced. Everything is relative, and you're not being forced at gunpoint to mine heavy metals in the Congo or something, but it's all relevant, and I need to do a better job of maybe believing that instead of just saying that and sitting with my own stuff. But yeah, I'm really happy that I get to bring this to you guys, and I just want to be honest with you. I know these intros are always a little bit of a therapy session, just kind of letting you guys know where I am. And like I said, I need to do a full solo episode. I know that, and I probably will be maybe tomorrow. I just, I told myself it's going to be today, but I just don't feel like it. I feel like all I need is one good sleep. If I could get like 4 consecutive hours of sleep, I would be like, oh, I just feel like I'm doing such a terrible intro because my brain doesn't even fire. I feel like I'm just in a fog half this time because I haven't slept. So tonight I'm going to take a NyQuil, even though I said I'm not going to do that. But I mean, at this point, what the hell's the use? I'm trying to stick to this, only natural things in my body type thing, even though I eat fucking pizza and pierogies and all this bad stuff. Anyways, I'm just beating myself up now at this point. But like I said, this episode is really special to me. I've been so excited for you guys to hear it. I can't wait to hear the feedback on it. I think there's so much that you can learn, and I think so much that can come through. It's such a tough topic, and it's so meaty and complex that sometimes it takes guys that can break it down to a simple state and kind of, if I can understand this, you can too. And here's the steps. That's what I'm really excited for, their YouTube channel, and there'll be links to it as it updates. Like I said, as soon as that channel goes live, I will be shouting it out from the rooftops on all my social medias. And I really hope that you guys can help be that, initial boost to them that gives them the first couple of people that can give them that feedback and be a launching pad for all the things that they're going to create in the future. I think that's a very special opportunity. That's something I was really excited about when I knew I was going to start a podcast, was that I'm talking too fast from my own mouth, that opportunities like this would happen where I could really help people and people I believe in. And this is kind of one of those opportunities. I'm really happy for it. So as much as, I just talk doom and gloom, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's always positivity. And like I said, or like I want to say, I didn't say anything. Life is beautiful. And as much as it's tough to go through some things right now, I haven't forgot that. And I don't think you guys should too. At every point, no matter how dark it gets, I always think it could be worse. And there's so much beauty out there in the world. You just got to go find it. So hope you guys enjoy this episode, and I'll see you guys on the outro. All right. Thanks for being here, boys. It's quite the day we've had already.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us on. I mean, that's been, what a surprise.
Yeah, I know. It kind of was a whirlwind. I mean, I was coming into town the other day, and our mutual friend Joey just said, you got to come. He didn't even tell me much about what I was walking into. I just knew I had a meeting this morning at 9, and I walked in that office and met you guys. And what was that, 5 hours we did this morning, bullshitting and talking crypto and everything under the sun? That was
I think so.
Yeah.
And, we didn't know what was up either. He's just like, hey, you boys you have a meeting lined up tomorrow for 9. It's like, all right, we'll be there.
He's just the game maker behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's why I was like, has Joey talked to you at all? Because I mean, come on. I mean, how is this? He didn't say nothing. It's just, I was like, what does that guy walk into? He's gonna be.
But I loved it. I mean, like that. I think it was nice. I don't think Joey really had an idea that I was that fascinated by crypto and everything that you guys are working in right now. I don't think he really knew that going in. I think he was more so just knew I had a podcast, and kind of with what we talked about this morning of you guys expanding into kind of the public facing world in whatever way through a YouTube channel or whatever it is. I think he thought I'd have expertise there, but I think even he was surprised that I was that interested in it, because this has been something that's fascinated me for years now. I've just never been able to come across somebody that has knowledge in it where I could ask all those questions, right? Like that was, I really enjoyed that. That was so much fun, just asking you guys all my stupid questions and how this works and all those little intricacies that I never really understood, right? And I think I'm probably going to ask you on this a bunch of questions I've already asked you today, and probably things that you guys know that I already, from our conversation, that I already know, but just for people listening, because I think it's such a hard thing for people to wrap their head around. And I think you guys do such a good job of speaking in plain English about it, right? And not
well, I don't say I go crazy on my English, right? I mean, that's actually my second language too, right? So,
So what's your first language?
German,
right?
Like Low German,
Low German, right? Because that's because my dad Ingo, he speaks High German, right? His parents came from Germany and stuff, and he can speak a little bit when he goes up there, but there's a lot of differences.
We were actually taught High German as well growing up, so. We kind of, for me, myself anyway, I kind of forgot that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't use something,
you
it
lose
kind of
right
disappears.
Away. Yeah.
But like when me and my wife were on our honeymoon in Dominican Republic, we had the person, the couple behind us sitting there, and we overheard them speaking German.
Yeah.
And we started chatting with them, and like. It's kind of not very good anymore.
Yeah. But even if it's not great, it's still that. One of my favorite things was when we'd be on trips somewhere, or you just run into somebody and you hear speak German, right? If I picked it up, I'd always give my dad the elbow and go talk to him, because it's always so fun to see my dad where he'd never talk German around anybody, right? Like at home or sometimes with my grandparents, they'd say stuff, but never really get to hear him really speak it. And it was so cool every time that always me and my sister, every time we heard someone speaking German out in public, we always give it and go like, you got to go. And you could tell he enjoys it too, right? Just to kind of bring that old skill out and try it out. And
well, a lot of people are ashamed, like when they come from a different background or something, like, and they speak a different language that, for me, it's like, it's cool for me if I can speak a language that I can go into a store and I can talk shit all I want.
All the little benefits that people don't realize, all the little things that come with a second language. I was and just being around that German, I found I just thought I didn't know none of it, right? I thought I just knew all the swear words. That was kind of my idea of what I had in my head. But I actually went to Germany a couple summers ago, and I was blown away at how much
I'd picked up on that, of just little things like knife and fork or bread and cheese, just like the very basics that everyone around me is all, well, I can't even read this thing. I'm like, oh, well, I can give you a little bit of an idea what it was. And I was just so blown away by how much you pick up with that stuff just being around it.
What really fascinates me about different languages is like, as a kid, like you can pump 100 different languages into somebody and they'll be talking that. It really, really baffles me. Like, and then you're 15 years old and you want to learn French and it's impossible. But let's not even try French.
Yeah. If you guys heard my French,
that's the dumbest thing to
go
say.
Running for
Why
the
go
hills.
learn French? Right?
Yeah. If there's a couple spots that'll help you out, but no, that I've always, if I was going to learn a language, it would always be German. A couple of years ago, I hopped on one of those apps and tried to pick it up again, and just, it's a tough thing to stick with, right? Like you say, when you're a kid, it just flows into you like water, and when you're an adult, it's like trying to make
I like
ice flow.
Spanish. I'd love to learn Spanish. Yeah, that's my most.
It's a beautiful language, hey? Yeah. I there's so many languages I'd love to learn, but I just know
Spanish.
myself and know how far of a dream that is.
I like the Spanish culture. I guess. Like you go down to Cabo, and I love Cabo.
That's your place.
I just love Cabo.
Holy shit! Well, you might have a house there soon if you keep ripping like you guys are. And
Yeah, might have to get one of those nice houses there on the cliff.
Hey, I wouldn't say no to that. I'll come visit you boys.
All right.
Open book.
Open book. Yeah, that's perfect. And I want to dive into all the crypto stuff that you guys are doing recently, but I kind of want to start from the beginning of like growing up, and kind of, if you guys are willing to kind of tell some of your story that we talked about today, of kind of what got you here, because I was as blown away as I was from your guys' knowledge and what you're doing. I think I was more blown away with the shit you've been through and how far it took you to get there, and how that in hearing those stories, it made sense of all this knowledge of because when I first came in and just seeing these guys, that, how do you know all this shit? And then the more we talk, it's like, oh, this makes sense of how you learn this shit the hard way, hard way.
Extremely hard way.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if you want to learn something and it's easy, then you don't really learn it. I mean, if someone hands you something and says, here you go, it's not as easy as if someone says, here's the strings, go put it on a bow and you build your own thing. It's not that,
right.
Then you know inside out what you're doing, right? And so our background, like, I mean, what is it now? 2016, I think, is when we started.
Right.
We got into this situation in life where I was sick and tired of working as an employee and seeing this hamster wheel of just running in circles. I was working in the logging industry, or we were both in it at that time.
Pretty much everybody up your neck of the woods is working in the logging industry in one or some subsidiary of that.
You're working in the bush, or you're at the sawmill.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey,
yeah, that's all it's blue collar work, right? And it's not like I was against working hard, right? I like working hard, but I wanted to have more out of life than just, working hard, right?
Yeah.
And that cycle. And, so we got into this crypto, I saw some Facebook ad on it. And
Facebook ads, that's where it first took hold.
Yeah, it was Facebook. And I knew nothing. Like, I grew up as blue collar as you can, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was no such thing as investing. There was like, you work every month for your damn money and you get what you get. And next month you do it over again, right? You pay for your bread, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to go beyond just paying for my bread, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw this ad, I was like, well, we got to get into this thing, right?
Right.
So all my savings I had into crypto, I mean, this guy he was a clever guy.
We started off slower first. Like we put in a couple grand and tried it, and it worked. And one of my other brothers was involved as well, and he made a withdrawal that worked as well.
Yeah.
And
and that was just your kind of dipping the toes in the water type thing, getting to know it. Yeah.
And it's a problem we still have, and that is we play a little bit too high risk.
Yeah.
So
you like to get in, you like to go deep on it. You don't like to play around the kiddie pool. Hey, you like to dive in.
We didn't know how to swim, so we put on this nose clamp and dived in. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it sounds like. And around that time, that was Bitcoin that they were first getting into. That right?
That was Bitcoin. So what we would do is I knew nothing about crypto, nothing.
Yeah.
But I dove into it a little, and I was like, this is really something that can have a future.
Yeah.
And so what we would do is we'd go to Edmonton. It was an 8-hour drive.
Yeah.
And West Edmonton Mall had a ATM machine.
Really?
A Bitcoin ATM.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still in existence or not.
It probably is, but I remember seeing those back in the day. For sure.
They
see
had
them more
them
now.
there. Like, and this is right when crypto was really hot. I think it was like 300 Canadian per coin.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go to Edmonton and 5-10 grand at a time. We'd whip it in there, right? And
So you'd work your ass off up north and then
we'd
down.
drive up there and we'd give our money. And what we did is he sent us an address. Me being as dumb as I was in crypto, he had his own meta address that we would send it to. I wish I still had that address. Yeah. But so then we'd scan that address on our phone. We send our money to that address, and us thinking that was our account, right? So he had us tethered to that account. We could see what was happening in there, right? And then we had like 500 and some Bitcoins at the time. 500
and some Bitcoin, and that's about $300 at that time.
It was. But that wasn't the biggest thing. The biggest losses were more of we saw our portfolio grow, and when we tried to withdraw, we were like, oh dude, we got like 200 grand. For us, that's a lot of money, right? We want to take like 30 grand out and
have a party,
live it up a little, right?
Exactly.
Take a breath, dude, right? Like,
I hear you.
That's like a lot of money, right? So we want to do a withdrawal, and he's like, oh well, there's this withdrawal fee. You got to send me to do a withdrawal. It's $1,000, $2,000, right?
And did any red flags pop up at that point? Were you thinking anything of it, or was it was so good at this point you weren't even thinking of it?
Somewhat, yes and no, but you're as deep in as you can. Like I use all my savings. I had done everything, right? Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I want $3,000 to do a withdrawal. Well, what am I going to do now? I've spent all my life savings into this. Yeah. Oh, I'll send him $3,000, right? Yeah. And then 2 weeks down the road, it's going to take 2 weeks, yada yada, right? Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, you still don't have anything, and then another bullshit excuse. I think we did 2 or 3 times, and then that was like to the point where, you know what, I'm going to postpone my mortgage because I got to get this money out of here to. And after the second or third time, I was like, this is nonsense. I'm done, right? Yeah. And then you're bankrupt, right? Yeah. Now I got nothing. So
but he started changing his phone numbers.
Yeah, and then, trying to get away with you pulling all the tricks.
We would poke him on Facebook because we were friends with him on Facebook as well, and we'd bug him on Messenger until he sent a new phone number, and then he would just hang up and block us. And
wow. So what's going through your guys' head? First of all, how old are you guys at that point?
Oh, dude, that's like what, 5 years ago?
5 years ago, yeah.
So I must have been 20 or 21.
And you weren't even legal to drink at that age then, probably. Hey,
in Canada, yes.
I got you. Up in the creek, maybe, yeah. Oh,
I did go to Vegas, and that wasn't a legal age to drink, though.
But I'm just trying to paint the picture for the people listening that you guys are, you're relatively young.
Well, we started working at 15, right?
Exactly, and you guys.
I got my first job at 13. Actually.
Exactly, and you guys have been busting ass at it too, and that's a different kind of work up there. It's not what people think of getting a part-time job at 13 years old and they live in Edmonton. That's a little bit different than what you guys are probably doing up there.
Well, you were doing welding, right? I mean, you were doing like oil field welding.
I started at 13. I started packing sea cans, and like with equipment, we took equipment apart and we sent them out to third world countries. Yeah. So that was my first job at 13, and that paid my bill to buy myself a quad to go to work.
There you go, hey.
And I worked myself up there, and I think at 15, I was started working I was building oil field tanks and welding them. Yeah. So
this money that you guys lost was hard earned with backbreaking work that you guys put.
Oh, absolutely.
Put your time into.
Like back then, I was also winter time was logging, of course, right? And I've been on a processor, and you get. I don't know if you're familiar with that situation, but
not as familiar as I probably should be.
No, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't.
Fair enough.
I don't want to educate you, but to say the least, you get paid on production.
Right.
You get like minimum wage, and then per tree. So you get paid per however many trees you do, right? So it was like you get $12 an hour and 15 cents a tree or whatever. Right. So the more you can bust ass, the more money you make, right? And it's not like I was making bad money. I was making like 10 grand a month, right?
Yeah. But working hard for it too, right?
Yeah, but then you have I had a mortgage, you have a truck payment, and then of course you being dumb, you had a side by side on payments, right?
Obviously, you got. If you live in Alberta, if you don't have a side by side on payments, are you even fucking an Albertan? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I guess I lost my Alberta drive license.
Lost it in the Bitcoin purge. So I'm just curious, like when that starts to unravel, like how are you? First of all, how are you guys dealing with it? Just like the mental hit that takes on you. Like how do you guys get through that? What do you do to keep you going? What gets you up in the morning when you go through something like that? And then also your guys' wives at that point, right? Like because you were both married at that point, right?
I was just married. Yeah,
just married. Hey?
That's the hardest thing. What gets you up in the morning? Nothing. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like I was in some severe depression. Actually,
of course,
to be honest,
I would imagine. I'd be blown away if you weren't.
You know, you got a mortgage.
I basically didn't get out of bed for 2 weeks. I just stayed in bed. I was severely depressed. I lost my job at the same time. So I lost my house, my vehicle. I lost just some of the clothes I have left, basically. I lost everything I had.
Well, me and you were shacking up at one point in time.
Yeah,
you know?
So
do what you got to do at that point, right?
Absolutely.
Like what else is there?
And the other thing that we lost is all the support. Like you have no support, right? I mean, family thinks you're the biggest loser on planet Earth,
right?
And friends, you know, you thought that you had. They come and ask questions just to later on stab you in the back, right? And you know, it was hard because you know, the place I was working at, I wanted to get out, right? And at the same time, I did some affiliate marketing, right? Yeah. And I something's got to work, right? You know, I want to get out, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not an affiliate marketer by any means, but I'm going to do anything I can, right? To that point. And that was when affiliate marketing was hot, right? Like I'm sure you're familiar with that. Like
not as familiar. No, like, what is that? I heard you talk about it a couple times today, and I thought I just didn't say anything. You know, I didn't want to admit I didn't know.
Network marketing, like these stupid, you know, you buy a product and you go, you know, you're basically an affiliate. It's an online salesperson, basically.
I know exactly. No, I'm with you now. Yeah.
So that was the thing. Like you could really make a lot of money
if you work hard, right? That's the thing.
You work hard at it.
Our mentors, they basically started at the same time we were.
Yeah.
But they were obviously better salesperson people than we were.
Right. And that's a skill that takes a while to develop.
They're making like $100K a month and we're still sitting here struggling, right? Never made a dime off of that.
Yeah, and that's 99% of those things are designed that way. They make the money off of you.
They're designed for that too, right? Mm-hmm. But anyway, like so doing that and you know, my boss is like, if you're going to do that, then you can't work here. I'm like, well, I'm not going to work here because I have a vision. I was like, someday I'll drive a Lambo. He's like, you're as far stupid as you can go. I was like, oh, just watch me, right? So I'm like, I'll go without a job.
I'll show you stupid.
Yeah. Look who's laughing now, right? But so it all came on one pile, right? I mean, you know, I was out of work, I was out of money, I had nothing, and you know I had a banker knocking on my door, and we acted like we weren't home because who wants to talk? To that? I know what he wants. I'm not going to go talk to that
exactly.
guy.
And your wives at that point, that just never at any point did they didn't question none of that. They stood by you, right? Like,
absolutely. Like that's amazing. Well, that's actually where my lady started her own company to kind of help us, right? Right in the middle of that, she enjoyed, you know, sewing, so she started doing that, and I was like, that's what actually saved my limb, right? Because you know it kind of helped us, you know, along, right?
Get through the tough times before you can find another job and start working hard. And what I love and what I've heard through our conversation today, but just you guys know, if you know one thing, you know how to work hard, right? And you've applied that to so many different things across this, right? And you find where does that match up? If I'm willing to work really hard at something, where can I best use that skill, right? And it seems like you guys bounce around, and I'm sure we'll get through a bunch of those things you tried to apply that to, but I just think there's such a good lesson in there for people that are listening. Just like, it doesn't matter what you do. If you're willing to work hard at it, you're going to find success in whatever you do. And then if you find something that you actually are passionate about and you combine those two things, then it's off to the races.
That's when you're off. You have to be passionate
for sure
about what you do. If you don't love what you do, you might make money,
right?
But you're still having a job. And if you do what you love, it's a saying, and it's a saying for a reason. You don't have to work a day in your life.
For sure. For sure. And as we were talking, you know, that's very similar to what I'm going through right now too. So you go through that. It's probably one of the darkest times you guys went through, but you know, one of the darkest things anybody can go through is something like that, where just everything around you kind of comes crashing down. How do you pick yourself back up from that, what's the next thing you try? Kind of what was obviously a few weeks of laying in bed and probably a couple tears, I would imagine, just, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was like, you know, kind of rough for a little while there, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I got offered another processing job.
Yeah.
So I jumped on that and out of the town mostly, right? Because in a town of 3,000 people where everybody knows your name and they see you walk around and you know, they all do this stare down thing when you're going through that, it doesn't really help, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not what you need at that point.
No,
yeah.
and you know, there's not a lot of support, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so out of the town was the most important goal of mine, right?
Right.
And luckily enough, that like the next job that I got was working in Slave, right. So
that's what brought you down here.
Yeah, that's what brought me to Slave. So I started doing that, but then, you know, back onto crypto.
Right.
I tasted, and in the meantime, keep in mind, like when we were, you know, out of job, we were sitting and we were trying to bust ass. I mean, like, in my garage, like we had our laptop set up, and dude, I think we bought every course under the sun. Like, and instead of trying to catch up on my mortgage, we didn't try that. We used that money to, you know, buy the next crypto course, buy the next training course, buy the next.
Yeah, that's the time we were living together in your big
1,100 square foot home.
Nice.
And we had a whole bedroom in there. I was married at the time too, so he's just helping us out, right?
Yeah.
But during the day we worked in the garage there, and we're just
learning,
busting ass in there,
trying to take in as much knowledge as you can, right? Because really, when you look at what you guys went through, it's not like it wasn't successful. It was just successful for someone else. Someone else was, right? Like the money you're putting in, the returns you were seeing were not made up. They were real returns. It just wasn't going to your account, right? So you guys got a taste of the success, somebody ran away with the gold at the end of it, right? Like that.
They ran away with the candy.
Right, exactly, right. But you did all the work. But what's interesting to me is that didn't scare you off. You guys got a taste of what it could be, right? If you guys had done everything you did, but just one change, right? If it was your MetaMask account?
Yeah.
Your MetaMask account, not his, right? At the time, you don't know that, but you're getting the knowledge to know that now. If that was, you guys would have been in a much different situation. You knew that. So that I just find that amazing that wouldn't just scare you off altogether, that you guys doubled down and you went back at it even harder.
Well, I think that's what drives you even more, right? Yeah. Like a failure like that, I told, like I said, like I just said earlier, I told my boss someday I'll drive a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And I meant what I said, right? And to do that and then to get shafted like you did, it just puts a little bit more hot coals under your butt, right?
No shit.
And you can take that as a whip, and you know what? For a few weeks you do, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody would not, right? But then you put your life back in a grind, and you go back.
Put the work boots back on, and get at her. Yeah, that's awesome. So you guys are in the garage, rubbing pennies together, but learning at the same time, figuring it out. Working where you can, making sure you're still putting food on the table, but you never gave up on that.
That was hard, putting food on. I would sacrifice food on the table to buy the next course.
Right.
So we tried every course that there was, I think, right? And then there's the next the next poetic trading system that comes out, and we were like, hey, if we buy this, because we were like, we don't understand this, so if we have to basically hire someone that understands this, right?
That's away from crypto. That's more traditional trading, right?
That was crypto.
That was crypto. Okay.
It was crypto, but trading crypto,
we were
right?
Trading, yeah.
Right.
At the time, we were trading Binance mostly and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so we did that. And then we moved on to leverage trading, because we're like, you know what, we just don't have quite enough money in here. Like,
and could you guys just give the explanation for leverage trading that you gave me earlier, just to let people know what that is?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, what you're doing is you have options usually as a 100x, a 50x, 25. 5, 10, whatever. Some of them you can go in between custom number, whatever you want. But it's basically, let's just say you're choosing 100x and you're putting $1,000 of your money that you want to trade.
Yeah.
And you choose 100x, you have 100x your money. So you now have
100,000.
Yeah, you now have $100,000.
Right.
So any profit you make off of that, you take the profit of $100,000.
Right.
But since you have 100x, if the market drops 1%, you're now negative $1,000,
and you've lost your investment.
Then they just pull. They liquidate you.
And you wouldn't lose $100,000 because you only put $1,000 in. But you would. But if the market's at 100,000, it goes to 99,000. There was a very small dip. You're out of the game. All your money's gone.
And this is crypto, so you only need a little wick, right?
Right. Oh, that's what I was misunderstanding earlier when we talked. I thought you were saying, I didn't realize that was still in crypto. I thought this was traditional trading you were doing.
No,
so this is still
very, very volatile, right?
Right.
I mean,
super volatile.
Yeah.
And back then more than now.
Yeah.
And us not being experienced at all, we were like, well, this is the only way, right? I mean, we were trying the fastest way and not necessarily the smartest way.
Yeah,
right?
but you have to learn that. But that's what I'm saying. You needed to learn that, right?
And we didn't have a mentor. We did anything crypto. I did not. There is nobody to talk to. It was me and by myself and Google, right?
Yeah.
And YouTube.
Yeah.
You're right. So
and most of the people on YouTube were just trying to get some extra Bitcoin in their wallet.
Yeah. So you got to look out for that. There's shysters everywhere, right?
That was the only thing, right? Yeah. Like every video you watch was, here's a link, use this, and dumb enough to use it, right? Yeah. And after a few tries, you
figure it out. Yeah. Oh.
Right? So
you're trying this leverage trading, not going how you guys want to. So that was kind of the next evolution of what you tried. Do you remember at that time of kind of where you were and when did you come to the realization that, okay, this isn't it?
We were actually in slave already, both of us.
Right.
We were working in slave and we were doing leverage trading or Joe was mostly doing the trading because I wasn't a trader. I was like, you can do the trading. I'd do more of the other things of like researching the product.
Right.
Stuff,
researching the coins, what they're,
and he was like, you know what, I'm done. Like, I'm up all night, is stressed out. Right.
I was having a day job and I would come home after working. I would eat supper and go to my computer.
Trade
and
all
I'd start trading and I would trade. I'd have alerts on my phone. If I had to sit I've been at the computer all night trading. And then at 7 o'clock, whatever, I'd go away and go to work and I'd come home and do the same thing. My longest, I've literally done 48 hours of work and trading. And that burns you out. And now if anybody mentions leverage trading, I'm just walking away.
Yeah. You're running away at that point.
I'm running, yeah.
Well, you put the stress of you got to make this work. And the more leverage trading, you can't be stressed.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, it's more of a fun thing. Like you have $1,000 you want to throw at it and have some fun, go do it. Right?
Treat it like a casino is kind of
treat it like a casino. Don't treat it like your life savings, right? And that's what we did. And one day we had this idea of, I was like, you know what, Joe? I was like, because he had mentioned the day before, he's like, I looked through my book of all the coins we bought in the past year and a half, 2 years, and if we would have just held them instead of trying to trade them, we bought $300. It's $30,000 right now. Why do we not just hold them? I was like, well, why don't we start that today? And he's like, wow, well, how? Well, we both have $1,000. So we throw our first $1,000 in each, and we kept doing that, and we're like, we're gonna research and we're gonna buy the smartest coins we can, and we're just gonna hold. And if we have to live without bread for another 3 years until they are profitable, then that's what we'll do, right? And every day after work, we would do that. As every 2 weeks when our pay came in, that's where we already had it scheduled. This is where it's going to go, right?
And you said you guys are passing up paying bills to put more in. And more
absolutely.
In.
I mean, Talus got screwed.
It's safe to say my phone and before this has been cut off a lot.
Right. But you guys believed in that, never lost faith in it. Hey?
$50 reconnection fees, they add up as well, though.
So this might be too early to ask this question in the conversation. I knew I'd ask it at one point, but where do you guys think in your estimation that comes from, that self-belief to throughout all these things? Right? We're not even at the end of the story yet of the shit you guys have seen and been through, but at every point, even when life kicks you, like a donkey, Where do you guys think that's instilled in you to pick yourself up and to have that belief that this is just another step back? Eventually, this is going to work.
The will to win.
Yeah.
And the first thing you have to look at when you get kicked is, where can I learn from this?
Yeah. And it seems you guys learn big lessons from each one, right? Along the way.
If we can't, we go nuts.
Yeah.
We sit down and we figure out what we can learn from this, because otherwise, it's just a waste of money.
Right. But do you think that will to win? Like, I'm curious, just like, do you think that comes from growing up in a community where working hard and having that will is you see that a lot? Or
well, I think it comes from, working as a blue collar. The will to work is there. Like, they teach the will to work, right? Yeah. Everybody is willing to go work there, and they're happy to go work 14, 15-hour days, right? And nobody cares. So we just took what we learned from that, and we're like, we're going to do the same, but we're going to do it in a smart way, but
Applied
that's
it
smart.
to where your passions lie.
Yeah,
which was
to where we were passionate about,
Right.
and do it in a smart way. But unfortunately, we weren't very smart when we started, right? But the will, just like any employee out there, they always go back. If their car breaks down, they know they have to still go back to work the next day, right? And I guess it's just, and the other thing is being in poverty, like we didn't grow up rich, right? I wouldn't say necessarily poverty, like where we couldn't afford to eat, but there wasn't, the extra trip to
wasn't the Xbox 360 every
no,
year.
there was nothing like that. Like,
there was basically even you could count out on potato chips. Like that was an extra cost like that we didn't have at home.
Right. So I guess coming from that, it changes your outlook on what is on what you're after and what you're chasing, almost like
almost what you're chasing, but also the determination to do different. I learned that the only way to make a difference for my family was, I can't blame it on my mom and dad. I respect my mom and dad from where they come, right? And I just knew if I wanted to have a different life for my kids, it was going to be on me to do that, right? So it just really kicks you in the butt to do that.
And I guess if you're chasing something different, it'd be silly to go out do the same thing everyone else is doing to get there, right? You got to try something different if you want to get something different.
Well,
right?
Always being a little crazy as is in the first place. I guess that's
need a little bit of that. I got a little bit of that. Did you guys see that? Yeah.
So I think that's where it comes from. And having a big dream, like I said, I never knew how I was ever going to get to a Lamborghini, and I still wouldn't go buy one, right? But it's like, the will to say, what, this is, I've seen other people do it, and if other people can, then somehow I will too. That was always my mantra. If other people can, I can, right? And just working at it, right?
And just never giving up. And every time you take a whack on the pee-pee, you know what? That's all
you get tougher with time, right?
I don't want. You do whatever you can so you don't feel that again.
Exactly. But that's a powerful motivator, right? You can't discount how much of like what you guys probably felt in that first. I mean, in a bunch of these ventures, but specifically that first one. That drive to never feel that again. Like one of my favorite things I talk to you guys are my favorite, like I love MMA and stand-up comedy, right? And those both have that same thing of so many high-level fighters talk about just how much they hate to lose. That is so much more what animates them is they get that feeling of a loss, and what that is what motivates them much more than that thrill of winning. That is also there. You can't discount that either. And then also in stand-up comedy, the feeling of standing on stage in front of people and bombing is such an awful feeling. It just is so like blood-curdling that's what animates you to never let that happen again. And I think that's so interesting in all these different dynamics of almost the failure is a key ingredient in the success, right? Like you need that to be able to feel that to know what you're pushing to get away from, right? Like,
oh, absolutely. If it wasn't for failure, man, I wouldn't be so hungry. I never want to go back to where I was without a house, right? I never want to go back there. So that, even now, like I sometimes like to go back to that moment in time and just really soak it up and say, you know what? You haven't accomplished nothing yet.
Yeah.
You got to go back to work.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I'm doing this full time now, and I can, I can do what I need to do. And I'm stingy as can be, because I'm like, you know what? I can leave this in another round, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go back to where I was.
Right. And then, to hop back onto the story where we're at it. So you guys are you realize this leverage way is not if we would have just bought and hold these coins, we would be in a much better spot. We're going to do lots of research. We're going to make sure we're not just buying coins willy nilly. We're going to look into them, do due diligence, be confident in what we're buying, and hold on to it. And from the time you start applying that strategy, do you start to see it right away paying off? Is it kind of a lag point where you're going to, have a little bit of failures under that new strategy before you really catch fire? Or was it right away you knew, okay, we're on to something here?
We felt it right away. The day we started that, I could feel it in my gut. We said, you know what? By the end of the year, we're going to be at $1 million.
Wow.
We said that right
confident
away. We were very confident. How? We didn't know. Because I told you, we had $1,000.
Yeah.
And literally every dollar that we could, we'd skip the TELUS bill, because that's one that you can go 3 months without, just for the people listening. They'll let you go for 3 months.
They
Right?
used to. They don't anymore. They cut my phone off last month again. They said
fuckers. Couldn't shave off a few Bitcoin for old TELUS? No.
The thing is, it's just past due. But this my phone bill is like $350 a month or something. And they're like, anything, if your phone bill outstanding balance is over $500, we cut your phone bill off. It's like, well, then I got to pay it whenever it's due.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. As much as I want to, hold TELUS to the fire, working in the fuel business and all the money that gets owed and being on the other side of it of trying to get money out of people and trying to get people to pay their bills, I have a whole different, I would never say a kind word about TELUS. Fuck TELUS to the ends of the earth. I despise that company. But like, it's so funny after working for years in that other, and seeing the other side of it. It sure is a different story beyond the other side. Anyway, but that's a whole different story. So you recognize it right away that you're onto it. You guys believed in it right away. And then,
yeah, so I think there was like a 3 months, like I think it was about 3 months where every extra dollar we had, we put in it, right?
Right.
And this is when Ethereum, starts going a little sideways and up. It's done a good run, right? And we're catching the tail end of a nice run, right? And we were, still learning, right? So it was, we thought that run was going to have a lot more in it, right?
Right.
And we catch the tail end of it and still learning, right?
Yeah.
But really hungry and confident we're going to do it, right? So we take that and we say, you know what, we're gonna go and just make it happen. So we just throw everything at it, and anything, every coin that we thought was profitable, and thought had a future to, change the world in some way, we'd buy, and then also look at trends, right? And we caught a real nice trend, and we did from a little to a lot. So that was a big blessing. I'd say, a lot of people would consider it luck. I hate the word luck because I don't really believe in luck. I think there's two things. I think there's the will to win, and I think there's the conscious belief that you have that attracts what you think, right? You become what you think about, right? And I really think that plays a big role in every part of life.
For sure.
Because I can't say we would have caught this coin if we didn't have this mindset of making $1 million. I don't think we could have done it. But I think we kind of attracted that because of the mindset we had going in the first place, right?
And that drive and not to discount that hard work that you guys put in, right? You're not, dipping your toes in, putting 30 minutes a day into looking at a couple coins. You're putting hours of work into this research and really making sure that you're doing everything you can to have as much knowledge in it, and then and to bring the listeners back to all those courses you guys did to look at that knowledge. I don't know if it was one-to-one applicable to what you're doing now, but I'm sure some of that was helping out of giving you a little bit more understanding of what you're getting to, what to look for.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think a lot more understanding. I mean, all of those things have, if they didn't teach us anything good, they taught us what not to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
So we learned, I think we learned more what not to do than what to do.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And
that's pretty much, that's kind of how learning works, right? And you guys learned a bunch of hard lessons too, but all those courses that you take allowed you to learn some of those hard lessons a nicer way than failing yourself. You clearly failed plenty enough on your own, right? Like, and learn lots of lessons from it. But it's nice to be able to have things like that help you just take a couple of those pitfalls out of the way and help you, miss a couple of them. You need to fail to make mistakes, but you don't want to fail every 2 seconds, 16 times a day. You want to, minimize it if you can and learn from the ones you can, right? And so 3 months of kind of that time where you guys are putting every cent, every penny you can put into it and get it. And then after that 3 months, you guys started to see a little bit of turn. Maybe we're able to take a little bit out, live a little bit differently.
It wasn't a little. That's what still shocks me.
Yeah.
I still can't quite wrap my head around how you went from, that couple. I think, I don't know. What was it?
We reached our goal in one night. Let's just say that.
Holy shit,
so I don't want to say numbers because
100%. And that's not what this is at, right?
No, I don't like to brag on that because I think people, there's two crowds of people. There's people that don't believe it, and then there's people that just chase numbers.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that get attracted to it, and it's neither of that, but more of if you just stick to it. I mean, I say it was more of 5 years coming together in one night. Right?
100%.
So, but yeah, when it happened so fast, man.
Yeah.
We were up all night just laughing. I
bet, man. I bet.
I kid you not.
And at this point, had you guys started to do it full time at that point, or were you guys still working?
We were still working.
You were still working jobs at that point.
Yeah.
So then it happens overnight, and knowing you guys, I mean, people are probably wondering this question. I know from you guys that this wouldn't be the case, but that didn't slow you down at all. Hitting that just made you hungrier to double down, to go further into it at that point. Hey?
It actually gave some sleepless nights because my brain, I just could not shut that guy off for the night.
Yeah, you're thinking of what's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Next? What are we going to do next? What am I going to do with this? Like, because from going from nothing to a lot, even though you've been prepping, it's still a lot to take in.
For sure. And probably it's going to take you a couple of years, just to, like you say, it's hard to wrap your head around. It's probably going to take you guys a couple of years to even wrap your head around that, right?
I think I wrap my head around it now to a certain degree. Yeah. But if you've been through what we've been through, and you get this now, you're like, that voice in the back of your head says, "Son, don't screw this up now. Don't screw this up now."
Well, one thing that I noticed from our conversation, you were saying you still live in the same trailer. You haven't upgraded where you're living at that point. Do you think that's part of that is still not having your head wrapped around it, or just playing it safe, that you just want to make sure that you are only making these moves when you're as 100% secure in it as you can be?
It's both.
Yeah.
It's like one of my our mentors said the other day. He's like, you went through bankruptcy at 19, 20 years old. He's like, I'm going to bet I would be willing to bet everything I have that you're never going to claim bankruptcy again.
Yeah.
And I think a lot has to do with that.
Yeah.
It's also, I want to grow my portfolio.
Yeah.
Instead of buying a house, because a house is not going to make me any money.
Exactly. And especially when you guys get to see every day what kind of returns what games you're playing, what is out there. It's probably hard to buy a sandwich because you think, $4 for a sandwich. Fuck, I could probably turn that into 20 very quick. You know?
You have to live as well.
You have to live as well, right?
But that's a fair point, though, because we did go through that stage.
I'm sure you did, right?
Right after
that,
right after that, because you're hungry, man.
Yeah.
You're hungry as can be.
Yeah.
And you get the results, and then you're like, man, you know what? Why do I want to take this? You know how much money we took for profit after we did a good run? I think $5,000.
Yeah.
Well, just enough to pay my bill, to catch up on it.
Take your wives out for a nice dinner.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
But I didn't even catch up on my bills. I was like, they can't wait.
Yeah. Because you know that catching up on that, you'll just hold on, tell us. this will all come back. Just trust me here. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So you guys are still just as hungry, still doubling down, still learning lessons at that point too, right? Because I'm sure it doesn't just all go to perfection at that point. You're still going to be, it's still a roller coaster. It's still a volatile industry that you're learning and you're finding your way through. So at that point, you had kind of a, the 15-year overnight success, like they always say, right? Every overnight success, you don't see the 15 years behind it that built up to that, right? So you have that. At what point do you start doing it full time? You guys are still working because you're probably, I would imagine, just trying to put myself in your shoes, and from what I know you guys is we could, start doing this full time, but like almost say you're making, just for easy numbers, say you make $100 a day at your day job, and you know that, sure, I have to put this much effort into this $100, but I can turn this $100, and you're seeing money differently when you know what you can do with it. So you're probably still wanting cash to come in to be able to supplement it. Or I'm curious. What I'm trying to get to is when did you make the decision to start doing it full time, to give up the day jobs? Was that pretty shortly after? Or?
Very shortly after.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we looked at a couple coins that we had missed because of being at a job.
Yeah.
And we looked at
time sensitive, right?
And we looked at it and we're like, you know what? We're losing more money than we're making by having a job. And that's where we kind of finished what we promised for that year. And we were done.
Wow. And since then you guys haven't looked back. You've been doing this full time, hey?
Full time.
So how much time do you think has been since you guys made the decision to go to full time to today? Like how many months has that been? How many months have you been doing this full time?
Since spring, early
Since spring?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's now, it's going to be close to, it's got to be over half a year now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Probably
Right?
about 8-9 months, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then taking just that window of when you went full time to here, what has that experience been like? Is that still a roller coaster? Is there lots of ups, lots of downs within that of even doing it? Or do you guys kind of, as you're going, are you getting better and better where it's less downs, more ups as you're learning it more? Is it still kind of failing to learn lessons, or is it you kind of done more of that and now you're seeing more than a 50-50 kind of thing?
I think it's a different lessons you're learning now, right?
And you're getting into new things too with so back when you're doing all that and you're making it, is that any NFT stuff like we talked today, or is that purely coins?
That's
purely
just
crypto?
Coins, just
right.
coins.
So So you're making that. When does the NFT stuff start to come into your guys' world?
Once we start going full time and you really start diving in. So this is the challenge I still have today, and I think I'll have for the rest of my life. And I just got to learn to enjoy it, which is you dive down one rabbit hole. Like, you know, I heard the word NFT and you know, they had been around for a while, right?
Yeah.
But me being full time and focusing evenings on coins, so you focus on what you kind of understand, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we did. But now I want to expand. I'm doing this full time. I want to, you know, I want to be a front runner, right?
You want to be on the cutting edge,
absolutely, right? So you take that, and I hear the word NFTs, and I you know, you start looking into it, and then you find out that this is a thing that you're 10 steps behind. So you freak out again. You're like, dude, I missed the boat on this thing, right? And we being in a spot where, you know, crypto takes a good break from a run, and you know, the lessons of that we learned just through that could be a 5-10 hour day just explaining that alone, right? I mean, the lessons you learn from going from nothing to that and learning to manage that is something that, you know, I could talk about all day, but I think we should kind of, you know.
Hey, we got all night if you want to.
I'm what I'm saying is, so we take this money, and we heard this all the time is, you know, take and put 75 or 25% in Tether, you know, like a USDT coin, stable coin that, you know, it doesn't fluctuate. And on a rainy day when things are down, you can use that as leverage to, you know, buy the market, use it as dry powder. That's what we're saying, like have some dry powder ready.
So you keep
but we
on that.
didn't do that.
Oh, you didn't do
no,
that?
We were greedy.
Dude, you know, you thought you had the world by its tail, right? So we kind of were like, you know what, we're gonna do that. We're gonna just take one more run. And that kicked us hard in the butt too.
See, we figured ETH was on its way up, and it was. But that was the time Elon Musk was on
when he made that tweet about the sustainability.
I think it was it's been very healthy for the markets that happened, but
still a kick in the pants when it happens.
It was, sure. but we have learned our lesson on that now. Unfortunately, again, the hard way.
But that's the only way to learn these lessons. Really, is the hard way.
Absolutely. If you're not willing to learn it the hard way, don't even go in it. Right?
Stay out of the kitchen.
If you don't want to have the knives thrown at you, don't go in there because it's a dangerous place to be. Right? And so I think that was a good lesson to learn right off the start.
For sure.
But then like if we want to talk the NFT thing, so we see this NFT thing. But we are in the middle of, we screwed up. We put our money in ETH, and we're never selling ETH. The money we put in ETH that's our savings account, right? Like we want to grow our ETH. We want to, you know, have millions of Ethereum, right? So we don't want to sell Ethereum, and us not understanding the beast that NFTs are,
right? We
kind of avoid it because like, oh, they've gone up so much, like. We can't afford it right now, right? And not being educated enough on it, just diving into it, we were like, well, we'll have to wait for a dip or whatever, and we'll get in it.
Some sort of signal to let you know it's the right time. Gotcha.
But that was because we didn't understand it enough, right? So we were like, oh my goodness. And then these NFTs that went from $1,000 to $100,000 were like, oh my goodness, okay, there's more to it. And then I sat for 5 days straight and I just read NFTs. I'm like, I got to get this thing figured. And I started understanding the culture of what NFTs are, what they do, what they can do, and what the potential is. And then we're like, okay, well, now it's time that we're going to find us some of our own. So we did that.
So do you think we could just take a pit stop? And this is something I want to do. I want to ask you this about crypto, about a bunch of things, but since we're on NFTs, can you do your best? And I think it'll be all three of us are trying to chime in to give them the idea for people listening, what an NFT is, what makes them special, and kind of a little bit of what you talked about the culture. And I guess I'll start with my understanding of it. It's just it's a digital token, I guess is a word, but it can be anything. It could be a song, it could be a picture, it could be nothing really. Like it could be just a piece of code. It can be anything that's digitalized. And you use the blockchain, which I should have started this with asking you what the blockchain is. It's using blockchain technology, which is pretty much just a forced transparency where everything is using math. Everything's provable and everything's double checkable. So there's no funny business. There's nothing happening in a back boardroom that you don't see. Using that power to give these things some value because now they have it's using the power of blockchain and the security that blockchain is to add value to whatever you want to add value to. and kind of making it so that there's a finite amount of it, and that it's you, and then building a culture around it and making it, and then trying to sell that value and make a story around it to make it something that people want, and add little extras to it. You can add little extras to it to incentivize people, as well as the value of the NFT itself. First of all, how did I do with that description? Was that any sort of thing? And what did I miss?
No, you're actually very much dead on it, right? I mean, but what I didn't understand, I understood that, but I didn't understand the culture that you can wrap around it.
Right.
I didn't know I had to do human psychology yet to understand crypto, but I had to, right? So I had to understand, what are humans willing to sacrifice to be the next close thing to the next guy. You know, what are, back in the day, how they're like, I'm sure like your dad and or mentors could really talk on this with them. You know, back in the day, if they thought they were going to flex wealth, they're going to do a Rolex or something like that, right? Like they're going to flex their watch or whatever, right? Maybe a car or whatever, right?
Or if you're like my dad, you buy a car and then never drive it because you don't want anyone to see you driving a nice car. You only drive it in the city. You bought this Mercedes finally after all these years of never buying a sports car, and then you never drove it around here. You only drive it in the city. Anyway, sorry to do that.
But so there's those people too. That's that's the people that hide their thing, right? But and I kind of appreciate that more than the other way. But I kind of like flexing.
Little bit, it sure is damn fun,
But anyway, right? So NFTs, what happened is those things I started understanding, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, for an example, and CryptoPunks. Have you heard of those?
No, that's Chinese to me.
So the CryptoPunks, I look at them. When I looked at them back before we got into NFT, they were at 1 ETH, and that's like $1,500. We're like, I'm not going to spend.
That's what ETH was worth. That's what 1 ETH was worth at that time when you're looking at it. And it's about like 4 now. You said today.
Yeah, 4,000.
And when we say numbers, we're always American.
Right. Yeah. Everything in crypto is all through American.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're like, we don't want to risk $1,500 on a. If you've seen them, they look terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to insult my CryptoPunk guys here, but seriously, I didn't see a value in it. Right. It's a very, very pixelized cryptographic picture, and I didn't understand, like, why do I want to pay $1,500 for this? This has got to be like some kind of stupid trend that's going away. But then I started understanding, the value that is with it is there's only 10,000 of them.
Right.
There's people started buying them for flex, as what, I own one of these things that there's only 10,000 of.
Yeah.
And then it started becoming a thing where celebrities were starting to dive in, and they're saying,
making their own NFTs, right?
Not just that, they were buying the CryptoPunks, right?
Right.
And they were saying, hey, we are now part of it. So now there's these people that die to be the next, the celebrity thing, right? Where they have the celebrity crush. They're willing to spend $300,000 saying, you know what, I'm in a group where, Snoop is in, right? Yeah. So that's when it really dawned on me on what the future of NFTs hold, right? And then, like you say, the tokenomics on it, right? So if you want to go into the tokenomics, then if you don't understand Bitcoin, it would be very hard to understand NFTs, right? So if you understand Bitcoin, then NFTs is the next step. But that's like
And these CryptoPunks, like we saw, like, what was it, like 4 weeks ago? One of them sold for 711 million or something.
Holy shit! Hey, so of these CryptoPunks, are they each one is different, and there's 10,000 of them, or is it 10,000 of the same one?
No, they're all a little different. They have a different, kind of a different picture, right? And maybe a different hat on or something. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's a good lesson to learn, because I think that was something that everybody that's outside of this world trying to look into it, and I think that's part of the point of making them, like, if you made it look like a beautiful piece of art that people can kind of understand that, but there's almost a point to making it a little bit shitty because it's worth way more. It's not about the pixels on the screen. It's about everything created around it. And I think that's such a big lesson for almost every NFT. There's certainly some NFTs that are works of art or amazing work of music, right? And you can do that too, but that's not necessary, right? It's about the clout that comes with it of owning what it is and the value that you create, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, and essentially the coding it has in the background.
And the coding, yes, for
like
sure.
The coding is the most important thing, right? Like we own a few NFTs that I'm quite proud of, that we got our hands on when we did, because I think 5 years down the road, me and you'd sit there and I'd say, I still hold that NFT because I like it, and I can't get rid of it, and it's making me money, because because that NFT, so if you understand crypto, then there's ecosystems in crypto, right? So for an example, I really believe gaming is what's going to take off.
Yeah.
And I think gaming is what's going to get mainstream adoption in crypto.
For sure.
Because I think people go and do gaming for fun, right? So and if you understand gamers, they're kind of like these guys that just, I'm not a gamer. I wish I was.
Yeah.
But they go and do all kinds of weird stuff that they hardly understand, but it gets them to the next level of some kind of game, or it gets them some kind of rare trait
or some sort of skin that they can put on their character that shows that clout, right? Like if you have, like if they're playing that Fortnite that everybody plays. I used to play. I shouldn't say everybody else, but I should lump myself into that. I played it a couple years ago, but you have skins on, right, while you're playing the game. If you have one that, and it's always a thing. It was already starting. You could see it of guys that played Fortnite when it first started. There were skins that were only available then. So when you'd see someone play, oh shit, they have that skin. They must have been playing for a long time. But you could kind of see what that is.
What NFT does is, if I play Fortnite and Fortnite's not on blockchain, but let's say it was, if I get that skin, I can go and sell it as an NFT.
Exactly. And now it holds value, and that's what, like we said, not NFT doesn't have to have an outside value like this, right? You can create whatever story around it to give it that value, but that's one that's easily understood to people. Now you have this one that there's only, that's 10,000, but maybe there's only 10 of them, right? Like, and you have this one where there's only 10 other people in the world that can wear this skin, and that's what it signifies, like the clout that comes with that too, the value that adds, the way that it's going to grow in value, because now more people want it, right? And you bought it for, $1,000, but now you go out and
now Snoop Dogg buys one,
exactly,
right? And now everybody wants to have it, right? So that's the thing of it. Like, people always want what you can hardly get, and what
supply and demand, baby.
Yeah, it is, right? But what I am intrigued about the most with NFTs is the value that they can provide, right? So like I was saying, we have this NFT, and we're part of this ecosystem super farm, right? And we own quite a few super farms. So we're staking them to what we're doing is we're taking a super, that's the token, like the crypto coin, and then we take Ethereum and we combine those two, and then we sign a contract and say, you're going to have both of them locked up. So they lock them up. We can't even go sell them. And then they say, if you're going to lock them up for a half a year, then we're going to pay you, 65% interest a year on that money.
Right. So you guys are explaining a bit of that to me today.
Yes. Yeah. So, but now he goes and says, hey, I made this NFT. If you go and farm like we do, and he pays us 65% interest, let's just use that as an example. It was there. I don't know where it's at now, but crazy good interest rate, right? And then
he different interest for how long you lock up too.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. And so depending how many people do it as well, because he has a pool and says, hey, I'm going to be doing, $100,000 that's going to go to this pool, right? And the more people get in it, the less money you're going to get, right? And if you own the whole pool, then you'll basically get the whole $100,000, right? So, but then he goes and says, hey, if you're going to farm, I'm going to give you this amount of coins in return, but then I'll also give you a gem, which is, it doesn't have any value, but if he has it set up in a phenomenal way where every 1,000 supers that you lock up, you get 1 gem a day. So that's what it was. It's dropped significantly since then, right? Yeah. But then it's like, if you get these gems, then after there's if you collect 5,000, you can go and get one of my NFTs for free. And if you hold that NFT with 5,000 gems, which you got for free, right? So it didn't cost, you didn't have to buy that NFT with any value other than the money that you got locked up, but you're making interest in the first place, right? But then he says, hey, if you get this NFT, there's only going to be 130 of them.
Right.
But if you have it in your wallet, then I'm going to pay you an extra 25% interest on your money.
Right.
And that's where I'm intrigued. I love money. So now I like this NFT, right? So then it becomes very valuable to me. Right. And for me, it becomes valuable to the amount, okay, I make 25% a year. So let's say I have like $100,000 in here. It makes me $25,000 a year, let's say. So then it's like, this NFT, I'm not going to go sell it for under $25,000. It'd be foolish of me, right? And then there's people that have way more money than me in there, right? So they're like, hey, I'm willing to buy this NFT from you. Maybe they get in later. Maybe I was one of the early people that got in before, everybody was farming, and I collected the gems. So I was one of the first, and I got an NFT, right?
Yeah.
So then some big guy comes along later and says, I like this ecosystem. I like farming.
Yeah.
I need that NFT.
Right.
There's only 125 of them. Now there's 125 big people that are fighting over this.
Right.
And guess what? I'm lucky I'm having this.
Yeah.
But until someone says, you know what? I'm going to pay you more than what it's worth for me to have, I'll go sell it, right?
Right.
So now I understand NFTs. Now I love NFTs, right? Because it's actually something that I can use as valuable. It uses in that ecosystem. It becomes very valuable, right?
And what people need to understand, I think what the biggest thing that's going to be going through people's heads is, well, how do you trust all that? Like, how do you know that that's all going to work out? You say it is, but what the beauty of blockchain is there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's coded for this to happen, right? Like, that's the reality of these things, right? Like,
well, yeah, that's the beauty, right? I mean, everything is coded. Like, there's no boardroom, right?
Yeah.
There's no room. Like, if I give you my
there's
address,
no black box where this magic happens. It's all transparent. You can double check this all before you bought into that. You could double check to make sure that, and a lot of the time it's not even you that's double checking the code, because I'm sure you're not a coder, but when you look into the ecosystem, you look at these people that you trust, they're the ones double checking that what they're saying is coded here is what it is. And then there's also market factors that speak to it too. If there's guys that are already buying into it, you can trust it a little bit more too, but you probably also want to do your own due diligence.
Yeah.
Always do your own research.
For sure.
Do your own research.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can trust all of them. You know what? We've gotten burned. There's rug pulls. Do you know what a rug pull is?
No.
Okay. You have a rug in front of your door?
You have a what?
You got a rug in front of your door?
Yeah.
Okay. When you come in, I'm heading away, and you step on that rug, I'll pull it away. You're gonna fall on your face.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a rug pull, and that it hurts.
Yeah.
And that happens.
You've had a few rugs pulled on you.
Yeah. What happens is there's these projects where you got to be careful in crypto, right? Just like any other place, they promise everything, and deliver nothing. And then all of a sudden, if you don't trust the ecosystem or the team, they can, like, you can see what they're doing, but they don't care, right?
Yeah.
It's an open book, but all of a sudden one day they're gone and the money is gone. The liquidity is gone. Now there's nothing. You are left with maybe the picture that you got.
But there's no value to
no value. They took the money and ran. It has happened to us.
So a huge piece of it too is looking the team behind it, like who's starting this coin, right? Like, and how transparent are they about putting themselves behind? I would imagine, I'm guessing here, stop me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine what would go into some of those decision making is who made this coin, why did they make this coin, are they standing behind it, is it reputable, right? Is that kind of what you look for?
Oh, absolutely. Big time, right? That's like very important to have that. And then, like, if you're new to crypto, I always say, people say, you know what, I'd love to get into what you're doing, but I can't afford it. I say, why did you not, like, from 2015, and this is the lesson I've learned.
Yeah.
If I'd put $100 a month into Bitcoin or Ethereum, just take the safe two and just put $100 a month in it. Every month you put that in, you can afford to do that. And if you can't afford 100, do 50, right? Do 25, something.
You can afford some.
You can afford some. You put that in there, and at the end of 10 years, you're going to be surprised. I just think we are in the biggest transformation in history, and it really frustrates me that I hear people crying about, them being stuck with the lifestyle that they don't like, and the situation where they don't want to be in, but they could really take control, right? I mean,
you got to do something with those stimulus checks, right?
Hey, there's a lot. There's money to be made there.
But I'm saying, like, there's this thing of, if you just consistent with that, put that $100 in, is it going to be just overnight and you're going to have the money you need? No. And is it going to be rocky? I think we're in for, I personally think we are in for some really, really rough times ahead yet. I think we're going to be shaking in our pants with what we have in crypto. I really think that, because, like we talked earlier, I think crypto is at war with government, right?
Yeah.
And government at war with crypto. So it's not going to be easy. But I think if you're just going to hold on to that stupid roller coaster on the safe ones, a lot of the stuff that me and Joe are doing isn't that safe,
right?
But like
that's where the returns are, right?
The big returns, and also the fun. We love the adrenaline
for sure.
of it, right?
And you can't discount that too. That's what fosters the passion. That's what's keeping you in it. That's what's keeping you doing the due diligence and making the right moves and making the mistakes and learning from them too, is that passion. And if you just played the safe ones, you probably would that would wane and you wouldn't be.
But I'm saying for someone that's not interested in doing what we're doing, but they want to make a life change, just buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, buy maybe some Polkadot, maybe some, some of those other main well-known products or coins, right? Go buy those and just put a little bit in every month. And you know what? I think they're here to stay. I just think you're going to get a lot of scares along the way because they're not going to go away. I can't see Web3 going away with nothing. Like gamers are not going to disappear, and they're going to use this. They're going to use this platform. I do think we were in for some rough times ahead of you. Where it's really going to be like questionable what you're doing.
And that's the biggest thing. And people look at certain coins and look at certain things of what's going to happen when the government comes after it or whatever, right? That's their idea. But when you look at just Bitcoin, it's decentralized. There's no head office they can go storm to shut things down. There's no CEO they can arrest, right? It's kind of,
they don't even know who made it.
They don't even know who made it, right? And that's the biggest thing. I asked you guys about that today, right? About Satoshi Nakamoto, who's the alias, I guess. That's not the guy's actual name. I mean, could be. Nobody fucking knows. But essentially, it's an alias of the guy who started Bitcoin. How much do you guys know of the story of it starting out of it starting? Have you guys looked into that of like where it came from? Because I think I listened to a podcast. I might be confusing two coins. I don't know if it was actually Bitcoin of what it was or if this was a different one, but it was a fascinating story of how it got started. Or was this something that just kind of popped onto a message board somewhere and it was an ecosystem already built?
No, it didn't pop up anywhere. It got started, I think, in 2008, right? Right in the crisis of the last really crash.
The world financial crisis in 2008. Yeah.
That's when it started, but
people got it as well as rewards for gaming.
Yeah.
It started as gaming as far as like I have done the whole read up. I read about it. I studied it, but I couldn't explain it. I've kind of moved on from then.
From trying to explain it. Yeah.
It's really fascinating to me.
It's so fascinating.
I think one of the biggest genius that ever lived. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just so fascinating to go make something that you can't go make more of.
Yeah.
You can't go hack this thing and print more of it. You can't. It's an open book. What if I know your address? I can go look at your address, right? Yeah. And you can see what's happening. I send it. It's across the world in a split second. It doesn't cost me a whole lot to send across, and it's all over. And it has the same value in China as it has in Japan. It has the same,
and there's no Western Union taking 20%, right? Like, we know in Alberta, all the foreign workers we have, it used to break my heart. I used to work in the C-store with a bunch of Filipino gentlemen, and they'd all, after work on Friday, go to the Western Union and just get bent over trying to send money home. And with Bitcoin, you can do that. As long as you're careful with it and you do your due diligence, you can do that with no fees.
Go to the bank and try to transfer some money. Yeah. It's impossible, basically. You can't even withdraw. It's like, hey, I want to take some, I want to make a withdrawal. It's like, well, you're limited to this and this is all I can give you.
Yeah, come back tomorrow for another
banks frustrate me now so much, man. I don't do anything with banks. I stay away from them, right?
Like, we don't have money. We have crypto, and we take out the amount of money we need to stay alive each or whatever we need. Other than that, it's in crypto. We don't have money.
Yeah, because you want to do a transfer. I mean, it takes. They always got it's it's a wire. It's going to take 3 days. Why does it take 3 days?
Yeah.
It's tell me this, right? And then you want to deposit a check. Oh, it's going to be 6 days. Why does this take me 6 days? I'm instant gratification.
You're working in a different world, right? And that's what people are going to start waking up to. Everyone's so on this train of this is just how things just take 3 days. Things just take 6 days. And as soon as you see, there's other thing that doesn't take 6 days with crypto.
Well, right? That's and the beauty of the power that you have with it, right? I mean, if if it's worth this here, it's worth that in China. It's worth that in Africa. I can send this to some friend in Australia, somewhere in a foreign country, and it has just as much. It's worth 65,000 US in his country, just as what it was here, right?
Right.
And he can go work on that and make that amount just as easy as I can.
Yeah.
From where he lives.
And
right?
you're not going to lose 6% on inflation all the time, right? Like
no,
it's a de-inflationary product that is your money's growing. Whereas if you just keep if your money's in the bank, you're losing money, really.
Well, I saw a post the other day about Hillary Clinton saying that Bitcoin threatened the U.S. dollar. Did you see that?
I saw something on it, and she looked haggard as all hell. Holy man,
I saw that on Bitcoin News or something. I retweeted it saying, hey, you know what? This is what happens when you're going to be printing billions of new pieces of paper every year. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Like, and this is what frustrates me the most with the U.S. dollar. The U.S. goes and prints this astounding amount of money, and they say inflation is 6%. Me and you both know it's way, way higher than that. Like,
and they get to choose what basket of goods they market inflation on. They get to change all that. Yeah, no,
and not just that, but now the whole world is based on the U.S. dollar to a certain degree, right? Like the poor countries. Like, I saw a post the other day. I haven't checked into this to check the validity of it, but they were saying that there's countries with 85% inflation this year.
Easily. Venezuela, yeah.
You know why? Because they're basing their money on the U.S. dollar, and the U.S. dollar is printing money, but they're not getting any of the new money that the U.S. is printing. It's circulating in the U.S. first. So it's taking a big cut in the U.S., but they're still basing their money on something that is...
And they're printing their own at the same time, because they're trying to match policy too. And they're printing their own, and they're being devalued, double dipping off them.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden it's a double-edged sword for them, because if they don't go print more, well, that means their money is worth nothing, because the U.S. has doubled their supply, tripled it, probably quadrupled it, right? So they have now way more money in circulation than they've ever had before. So these poor countries now have to go do the same. And it's just... double-edged sword for him. I mean, it's so painful. And that's why I really like what El Salvador did. Did you see that?
I don't think so. Or maybe I did, but I need to be caught up on it.
You're not. Yeah, they have Bitcoin as legal tender there.
Right.
Every store, you go walk into a McDonald's and go pay with Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that's going to become more and more common.
Oh, and there's a lot of countries talking about it, because they're saying, hey, look, we're getting screwed by the U.S. dollar. Why are we relying on something that they're printing so much of? It doesn't make sense. There's 65,000 Bitcoin. We know that. And we know people like holding this thing. So why do we not want to use this as our currency? Now at least we have something that there's only X amount of. Yeah. And it's based on...
It's more stable. It's
it's based on what people value it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And people always say, well, Bitcoin's not really worth anything because it's only worth what you value it. That's the same with the
everything.
That's the same with a piece of paper that came from a tree, right? It got put some ink on it, and now we say it's worth $100. Why is it worth $100? What's $100?
Every fiat currency operates on that principle. It's only as valuable as you make it, right? And when you understand that, when you see that, every fiat currency is built off that principle. But what blockchain has is the backup to it to prove what they're saying. It backs up what they're saying, that this is the realities of this ecosystem that we're building. Nothing can change that. Well, there's the branches. How much do you guys know about like the Bitcoin wars and all the branching and the new Bitcoins that they went off of? I've listened to some podcasts off it, and it's...
Well, there were a lot happening. Bitcoin Cash,
Bitcoin Cash, and then there's a bunch of branches off of that. And then,
well, see, what they were doing is they were trying to make Bitcoin a better coin.
That's what they're trying to...
Yeah. So it's still happening, but in a different way. Now we have layer 1s and layer 2s and, all these different products, right? And Ethereum and stuff like that, right? So what they were trying to do is make Bitcoin a better coin of utility, right? Where you could, transfer it faster,
Yeah, because my understanding was they made Bitcoin, like, Bitcoin's purpose was to be as secure as possible, and it's going to give up some utility to make it as secure as possible. But that was the only goal. We'll figure everything else out after. We just want this to be as secure and as transparent as possible. But that takes away some of these things. And then these new Bitcoins were giving up a little bit of that security for more utility. And that is that's a very subjective thing if that's a better coin, right? Like, to some people that might be better, right? Because you can use it for more things. But for some people, they want Bitcoin for its security, and they wanted original Bitcoin, how it was made, with no, nothing fucking with it, right? This is what it is, right? And
yeah, absolutely. And Bitcoin has kind of, I don't know. I mean, look at the wars it's won already. I mean, it went from cents to $1, and people said, oh, it's never going to go past that. And then it went from, 1,000 to 20,000. It dropped back down to 3, and people are like, "Oh, this thing is done. It's proven it can't stand the pressure." But every time that happened, the ecosystem started growing. There was more stuff happening. It's not just the Bitcoin. It's now we have the ecosystem. Like Ethereum is
being adopted. Adopted.
It's getting so adopted everywhere, and it's getting used everywhere. So I think what we're going to see in the next 5 years, if it kind of goes like I can imagine it with the way I look at it, Bitcoin is going to become more of a store of value, where you're going to be holding that to be, just part of that ecosystem. Yeah. People think Bitcoin is just as a currency. It's not. Bitcoin is actually like being part of the internet, right? I mean, can you own a part of some internet? You can't, right? Right. So it's like, have you heard of Michael Saylor?
Not sure. I don't think
he's a great guy. Like he can put Bitcoin so simple that like nobody else can. I wish I could, right? Yeah. I mean, he goes so, like he said a while back. He said, like, imagine Bitcoin being a piece of real estate that you own a piece of Manhattan, you own a skyscraper in Manhattan, right? He's like, that piece of real estate is only valuable to the person in Manhattan. It's not really valuable to a billionaire in China. Right. They're not going to profit from it. They don't even care for it. Right. And like he said, he's like, Bitcoin, you don't go and sell that piece of real estate that you have. You hand that down to your family. Right. Yeah. And your family basically lives off of the interest that it makes. And they live off of, they can go borrow money against it and, go do other things. They're using that as equity, right? Right. And like he said, he's like, now imagine you own a piece of farm in some other country or whatever, right? Now, if all of a sudden something happens in Manhattan that you don't like, they put the taxes through the roof, whatever, you can't just be like, hey, you know what? Screw this idea. I'll take my skyscraper and I'll move it to, I'll move it to Mexico. Yeah. You can't go and do that. And the billionaire in Mexico is not like, hey, you know what? I'm going to use it now, right? It's just unvaluable to them. But with Bitcoin, imagine that being that skyscraper. So if Canada all of a sudden says, in which they have been saying already, that, hey, we don't really appreciate Bitcoin, well, I'll just pack up my Bitcoins and I'll move to Mexico, right? Yeah. Like I'll unpack my wallet there, and I'm just as good there as I was here, right? So, and that's what really scares the government, is because they're seeing this transparency like there's never been before, and then they're seeing that they're kind of losing the control of the power they had. They can't threaten me with this bag of gold that I had stored, right? That if you're going to go sell this gold, we're going to tax you, because if you want to take the gold out of the country, you're going to pay for it. Yeah. Whereas this crypto, they don't really know it exists. And the minute I don't like what they're doing, I just take my, seed phrase and I fly to Mexico and I put it in my computer there, and I got my money back. Right. And it really scares a lot of those big government corporations on what's happening. Right. For sure. So then we have Ethereum built on top of that. And Ethereum said, you know what, if Bitcoin is, the code, why don't we make the code valuable as the next internet, where, we can build products on? Because Bitcoin is secure and everything, but we can't really use it to make anything out of it, right? So then Ethereum is like, hey, you know what? And that guy, do you know the owner of
I think I've listened. I think he's been on Lex Friedman's podcast before. And I think
crazy. He's like my age, 25, 26 years old, young kid. Yeah. Right. And just stupid smart. Right. Yeah. And he's like, you know what, if we're going to do that, and we're going to use Bitcoin as a currency, if we can start using that as that, because, why don't we want to own currency that's actually valuable, right, and can actually serve a purpose. Right. So why wouldn't I build something upon that's actually, the next internet, where we can now build an internet, because internet is kind of broken. Like, you don't own anything that's on there, right? I mean, so he's like, why don't I make something that's the next internet, but I can actually own something on it and prove that I own it. Right.
So maybe this would be a good time to, like, at one point I wanted to kind of do that same thing I asked about NFTs, just with the three of us together. what's the best explanation we could give to the people listening that might have zero idea of what it is? But I feel like I should have started with what is blockchain, then went to what is with that understanding of what blockchain is what Bitcoin is, and then trying to show the difference, because I feel like it's so hard to understand the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum without understanding what blockchain is to begin with, right? And the technology that this is all built upon, right? And that's what I told you guys of. Once I started to understand this, once I started to peel back the veils of seeing like what power this actually has, other than like everyone, it's so easy for people to, I feel like Bitcoin, the biggest power in Bitcoin is it's easy to understand, right? Like not easy to understand. It's very complicated, but at the very base level of what you need to understand about it, it functions like money, right? Like you can get very far with just that very basic understanding, right? Of what that is. But that's only 1% of the actual transformational power that this technology has. That's what I was talking to you guys about, of like, once I started to understand of like, okay, what does blockchain do? How does this work? Oh, you could apply that to voting. Oh, you could apply that to government. You could apply that to everything, right? Everything can be run off blockchain, and there's no fuckery with it. Once it's coded in there, it's hard coded, and that's what you live. And that's kind of the power of it. It's fully transparent. So maybe could I ask you guys in your best estimation, what is blockchain technology?
Well, I think just like to explain that properly, I don't think I wish I could explain
for
it
sure.
better.
Me too.
And I'm learning this as I'm going to put that. I understand it,
right?
But I can't quite teach it to the best
Same
of
here.
form yet, right?
Same here.
And that's what really nags me at core, right?
It sucks.
It does, because I got. I say I bet my life on it, and I can't really go explain it to the best of my ability to someone. But like I just said, so blockchain in general is this code that once it's coded, it can never be uncoded, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you making a post on Facebook that is now permanent. You can't go edit it. You can't change it. It's out there. And if you say this post is going to, double every 2 years, then that's what it's going to do. Right. And if you say you have 100 of these things out there and they're going to be less and less every year, then that's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And you can't go back and edit this software and say, hey, you know what? I changed my mind on this.
Or if you tried to, everybody else within that system that can all see it all open, they'd say, hey, this isn't what happened, right? Like all 10 million of us say, hey, no, that's not what happened. All of our books don't match up. You're the one guy out saying, oh, this transaction happened here, when everybody else is watching it. It's like it's a completely decentralized system where everybody has a part to play, and everybody's helping write the code and to build this system together, right? Everybody that's involved is all writing together, and everyone has the ability to double check all this stuff and to make sure that it's accurate. Yeah,
exactly. And the other thing that's really fascinating about blockchain is it now gets verified not through one computer. Mm-hmm. You can hook your computer and verify a transaction. Yeah. You may ask, how do I do that? That sounds crazy. I don't know how to do that. You don't have to do it. It's just a computer power, right? You just connect to the software of the ecosystem. Yeah. And now, if I send you one Bitcoin, that might go through 100 different computers to get verified, right? Mm-hmm. And they all match the same thing. They all say, oh, this number, and they all work together as one, but in a lot of different groups. So it's not like I can go and hack one computer and have that transaction, right? Because I'd have to hack all 100 computers at the same time to get that. Yeah, that's fairly hard to do.
There's no way of knowing which computer it's going to be
within the system. Yeah, and as it grows, that becomes more so, because now there's more and more computers being attached to the system every day.
You might have one in China, one in Africa, and
no, China banned it.
Yeah, but and to think that they banned it, and that shit, people aren't mining like a bastard there still and pulling all this stuff.
This Bitcoin mining, this Bitcoin China FUD, I find it so fascinating. It's been banned 1,000 times already. It always gets kicks in the news every time crypto starts pumping. Mark my words on this. Go back to the last 5 China bans and look where the market was and what happened during that time. I have been watching the market very closely, and every time this happened, this is kind of off track from what we were talking.
Yeah, no worries. That's what this is for.
But every time this happens, where the big corporation news, especially, where they start talking about, China banning this and China banning this crypto and that, you're going to see crypto was at a very pivotal point. And when you look at, and this is the beauty of blockchain, you can actually see who's buying this and who's selling, right? So if you go on the backside of things and watch, you can see, who's buying? The people that have been holding for the last 6 years. Yeah. You know who's selling? The people that just got in and are pissing their pants because China's banning. And that's what they want. Because, and this is what I said earlier, if you want to get ahead in crypto now, buy this thing every month, and don't pay attention to news, hold on to that freaking roller coaster. It's going to get way worse.
Yeah.
There's not just going to be China banning it news. Yeah. There's going to be news about everybody banning it. And when you think this thing is filled, that's when it's really going to take off. Go back to internet times, right? Like watch what happened there too, right? So it's just a fascinating thing. Like if you want to learn, history is a good place to do that, right? Sure. And go back in history and look at that. It's just phenomenal, right? Yeah. But no, that's kind of off track. But this China thing always cracks me up. Though. Yeah. But yeah. So that's just the China thing,
right? So blockchain is this technology that is fully transparent, fully checkable, I always call it unfuckwithable, right? Like that's like nobody can go in and fuck with it. That's its power. That's the security that it offers. So what they did was use that technology to make a currency with it. So they use that, and that's what they built. That's what Bitcoin is essentially. Is the most.
Well, can I interrupt you?
Of course you can.
Because I would say it's not even a currency. I would say that it's this technology,
right?
That you can buy a share of.
Yes, that is a better way. Because
essentially it's the same thing but different wording, and some people understand it different. Right? If they say currency, they right away think that, oh, you're trying to make the next US dollar. Right. No, you're building this technology that you can actually own a part of.
Right.
Now you can be a part of. Imagine if you could be a part of actually owning the internet itself, not Facebook, not Google, not Yahoo, nothing of that. The internet itself, be a part of owning that. It's actually technology you can actually start owning. It's verifiable proof that you own this piece, and that's the power,
right? And with Bitcoin designed, its goal is to be owned, is for people to buy pieces of the technology. That's why it was created, is to right. Whereas, and that's where I'm getting with that, is to try and make a distinction with Ethereum, right? So Bitcoin is that same tech. It's the blockchain technology that you can buy a piece of this ecosystem of blockchain technology that is ever growing and ever checkable, and all those things we kind of covered, all the security that comes with it. Then Ethereum comes around, same technology, still blockchain, but they want to do more than just be able to, you can buy a piece of it. They want it to be usable. So when I first heard about Ethereum, it was smart contracts that they're talking about, right? And a smart contract would be, so now use this blockchain technology that is fully checkable, right? That they use for Bitcoin to say, you have this much Bitcoin, he has this much Bitcoin. You can see where all this Bitcoin lies within this entire thing is checkable. Where Ethereum could say, I'm going to give you 1 Bitcoin if you do some service for me, and it's completely executable. I can't renege on that. It's if you do X, this is why. It's all in the hard coding, and that's what kind of a smart contract is, right? In my head. So that has another layer of usability on top of it, where you can't do that with Bitcoin, right? And now that has, but this was a hard leap for myself to take, and now I have a hard time explaining to people of what that means, right? If you can make smart contracts, and I think when I heard this example, they gave a couple examples of different types of smart contracts, but when you expand that idea out, you could run a whole company using completely executable code through Ethereum, right? Like, whereas everything runs on what you're saying it runs on, right? Like, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this, but
no, it's true. Like, you could set up your whole company without one lawyer signing a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And the whole company knows that this is the way it is. There's nobody that's a crooked head in there and says, hey, you know what? I'm going to run away with this share.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they get handed what they get handed, and it's an open book.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it depends how it's set up. If they have a liquidity pool, someone can go and grab that liquidity pool and run off with it. Right.
But when you go to invest it, you know exactly where that risk lies, because it's all in the code. You can see if they have a liquidity pool, you know what that means, and you know the risk that brings. But
yeah, absolutely.
But you are 100% accountable to the amount of risk you want to take on. You can only buy into things that have zero risk, that is completely or fully understood risk, and you can buy things that are maybe have a little bit more risk calculated into the contracts that they're building.
Yeah, so that's what I love about Ethereum, right? Because they now built this platform where you can actually build apps on, right?
Right.
So it's basically like an what was this Amazon platform called where you can
AWS?
Yeah, AWS. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
But it's an open platform.
What is that called? That network that they build on top of Ethereum doesn't have a name. Is that what the Lightning Network is?
No, Lightning Network is on top of Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah. That's them trying to add the utility back into Bitcoin.
So there's a few different ones, right? I mean, if you want to trade Bitcoin in a way of a currency, they built Lightning Network on it, which just makes a Bitcoin a lot faster from what it is, and you know, a lot more,
makes it more transactionable.
Yes,
right?
yes.
In for buying a pop at the store and shit.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Right. Where Ethereum is more of this web thing where you can go and build companies on.
Right. Build NFTs, right?
Yeah. So build that very product on and give it the code and say, if X does this, Y is going to do this, and Y does this, then Z's going to do this. And once you set it confirm, then that's what it does, right? And you don't go back and say, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, I changed my mind on this thing, right? So
you know what you know what you're getting into, right? It's forced accountability. Accountability is inbuilt with the system, right? Like that's kind of what they started. Like that's the power of blockchain to me is you're taking accountability and transparency, and that is a key to the system for it to work. It needs those things. It needs to be accountable. It needs to do it, because as soon as it doesn't do what it says, everyone's out of that, right?
Yeah,
like everyone grows and the value of the coin goes because over years it's never not done what it said, right? Bitcoin has never fallen off of what it's coded to do, right? And every year that goes by and it follows all the rules and no funny business happens, the more trust and value that it gains.
Imagine you bring $100 to the bank. You say, I want to deposit this.
Yeah.
Do you get a list of? Can you go on your phone right away and say, oh, you know what? They put it in this account, and from there it went to this place, and from this place it went there, and now it's there. Can you see that happen? No, you can't.
It all goes into some black box, and they do their magic, and they take your money and rent it out to other people. And if you actually, once you understand what banks do, it's fucked. Like when I took finance in university and really understood what the banks are doing, it was a real eye opener to me to see all the fuckery that happens there and the ways they get to just rob everyone else blind. It's crazy.
And then I go to the bank and I want to have my own money back to go buy a car, and they're like, "No, you can't do that."
Yeah, it's brutal, and that this is all the problems that this is solving, right? Like,
exactly.
And it's the democratization of all that power that was held within these institutions, and just giving that back to the people. Anybody that invests, that you have just as much power within that system as everybody else, right? If you own Ethereum and Bill Gates own Ethereum, you have the exact same rights as. Right, you are on equal footing, right? Like that's what the power of. That's what the real.
But don't get me wrong. Like there's already a lot of corruption that's trying to be built upon it. Like the greed will never stop.
For sure. Yeah, that's human nature.
Yeah, and so just like for example, I'm sure, I don't know if you've heard of Facebook's new name. Like they changed
Meta.
the name, Meta.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of Meta at all. No. I'm a fan that I see the gaming that I'm betting so hard on take over, see that develop in such a strong way.
You wish it wasn't Facebook at the helm of it.
But what I don't care if it's Facebook. What I do care about is they're building it in a way that it's not decentralized.
Right, exactly.
So they're now taking this decentralization platform and just saying, hey, we're going to build this. So they're building this platform, but then it's not decentralized anymore.
Exactly.
So now you're back to our rules. And that why go invest in it? Stay away from that shit. Don't let that happen.
There's no value to it anymore, right? You go away from everything that gave it power. You're going away from it, right? And they're trying to be greedy and to take that back, right? Like,
and it's going to happen
for sure.
Like they're definitely going to try, right? So you know,
but I think they're going to get all the dummies, right? And that can give you a lot of power, right? The people that really understand crypto aren't going to be the ones lining up to buy that unless they're just buying it to ride the wave of everybody else doing it to just make some money and then dump it. But the guys that are buying and holding that, like we talked about and all these other things, that's not the people that are going to go into that because they understand the power of the decentralization. This is the other one that gets me is so many people I haven't heard this for a couple of years, but they said, oh, I'm going to wait until one of the governments comes up with their own crypto and then I'm going to buy that. And I'm like, you clearly do not understand the point of this because that completely flies in the face of what this whole thing was designed for. Like it's decentralization. And that's, when we were talking with Joey today about what really is happening and with all the government stuff and who they're after and stuff. And everyone's looking at it to this right left dynamic, but really it's centralization versus decentralization. That's the biggest thing. And everyone's trying to pretend that that's not, or there's a lot of money to be made pretending that's not the fight that's happening. But when you really look at people's actions, that's what it's about, right? That's why Bitcoin is such a threat because it decentralizes this power to people. Nothing is scarier to governments than that. They don't want people to have all that power. They've done quite well having all that power to themselves. And now this is a very scary new domain for them to get into. And to me, that's a very scary domain to get into too, that Facebook wants to gain that power for themselves when they've already proven to us that they haven't done really good with this immense power that they've had already, right? Like, I don't really trust them.
That's why I say decentralization is very good. But at the same time, it can be very evil at the same time when these big corporations get in, because so far crypto has been one thing. It's been very united. The people that are building on it are all building. I mean, there's always these rug pulls like I talked about, but the main thing, like the big products that are happening and the ecosystem, the way it's growing, it's all been set up for decentralization. That's everybody strives to have a better decentralized world.
Right.
And then Facebook starts sniffing this out and saying, hey, you know what? We could come in here and just dominate this space and then claim it back to us, because then it's not decentralized anymore. Because the way it's coded is it's coded. And if they code it, they have now they own the decentralized part, and you get the little part of what they say you can do.
Yeah. So
now you're back to, you know, the same part.
Yeah.
Right?
And like we talked about with Ethereum or Bitcoin, if you own a Bitcoin and Bill Gates own it, you're on equal footing with that. With this new Facebook thing, that's not the system, right? Facebook's up here and everybody else is down here, which is the old system that we're running away from, right? Like that's exactly what this is all designed to take away. And now it's coming back, right? And that's a little bit scary for me. I have hated Facebook for a long time and just thought they're pretty evil with what they do and how they operate and their kind of mode of operation, how they make their money, and just the flying in the face of, you know, good people that you know get trampled underfoot of them. But completely, again, that's another one we could probably do 5 hours just on that.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So we've talked about blockchain's the technology. Bitcoin is that technology where you can buy a piece of. Ethereum is that plus some other utilities that, and now we're building more and more on top of that. And now I want to bring it back to NFTs. So now most NFTs, are all NFTs built off of Ethereum?
No.
There's
different ecosystems, like just like.
But Ethereum would be the biggest ecosystem for NFTs by far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally hate other chains.
Yeah.
These Binance Smart Chains and Maddox and Kusama.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't like them. They're,
what is
in my
it
opinion,
like
they're running against Ethereum, and for me, it's not worth it.
Right.
Because they're just a pain to buy.
Yeah.
Because we buy everything decentralized. We don't buy on. We don't
Coinbase
buy,
or Wealthsimple or
no.
What kind of idiot would buy Bitcoin on that? Hey,
a lot of people do, but so we have to. We buy everything with Ethereum. So now I have to send that Ethereum. It can't be on an Ethereum network. I have to switch that Ethereum to a Binance network before I can buy it.
And then
it would be the same way of saying, I have a Canadian dollar. In order to buy what I want to buy, I have to have a Mexican dollar.
Right.
And in order to buy a Mexican dollar, I have to go fly to Mexico to get this dollar
right.
and transfer it. And it's just, you know,
inconvenient.
The reason they did that is because, let's face it, Ethereum has weaknesses, right? It was built for way less stuff than what it's actually being used for, right? So it's the growing pains,
and they're trying to keep up with it. Yeah, and that was the biggest thing I got from, I think it was the creator of Ethereum when he went on Lex Fridman and talked about it. And I would, you know, all the knowledge that I have, which talking to you guys is very clearly not a lot compared to what you guys have, but that all comes back. I would say probably 90% of it is the guys that Lex Fridman's had on this podcast that are these huge names in it, and it's tough to take in what they're saying. It sounds very complex because they start talking in a way where they're assuming you have all this base knowledge, but just what I've picked up. But it sounds like that was the biggest thing I got from that one with the Ethereum guy was it's growing at such a rate that they're just trying to keep up with it, and it's being made for all these new things that weren't really envisioned at the start.
Yeah. So I saw some stats. I shouldn't quote them right now, but it was astronomical at the rate of what crypto is growing. Bitcoin in general is 10. I think it was 100 times the speed of what the internet grew back in the day.
Wow.
So that gives you a little perspective.
Yeah.
So if we continue growing at that rate in the next 5 years, the whole world's going to be on it.
Yeah.
So if that happens, keep in mind, like if you build something, and I'm sure you're well aware of this in general in a company, if you build a new product in a company, there's flaws in it. You have to work them out, right? And it's the same way with Ethereum. Like it's not like they have it upgradable, right? That you know, there's things that they can upgrade and they can, you know, make it better, faster and cheaper and all that stuff, right? So there's all these other chains that come on and say, hey, you know what? we're gonna, because they saw the flaws, but they always sacrifice something, right? And that's just something that I don't like, right?
And that's the biggest difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is Ethereum can change. They can add things to it. It's still very transparent, and does everyone have a say? Like, when they want to make a change to the Ethereum code?
Yeah, it's a voting right.
It's a voting right. Yeah. Which is, and that was what Bitcoin didn't have, and that's what made all those branches for like Bitcoin Cash and stuff. That's what added that back in. Of now you can make changes to it. They have to. It's still a voting, and it's agreed for by the people that have skin in the game. You only get a vote if you have money in the. If you own Ethereum or you own Bitcoin Cash, you have a vote in that. Do you guys put any stock into that, because you guys are pretty, I would imagine, pretty leveraged into Ethereum, especially if you're buying all these NFTs that work off that ecosystem? Do you guys keep up with what's happening in those votes? What is changing with the Ethereum code? Do you ever vote in any of that stuff for you guys yourself?
No, I don't vote. Like, there's enough smart people voting in it that I don't have to.
Yeah.
But like it's. I definitely stay up to date with what they're doing, right? Like, I definitely like watching what they're doing, and it's been nothing but fascinating to watch.
I bet.
It's a genius at work, right?
What are some of the changes you guys have seen? Just keeping an eye on it. What are some of the changes to Ethereum that you guys have seen that maybe you understand enough to be able to convey? Like, I'm just curious what kind of changes they'd make.
Well, see, gas fees, like I talked to you earlier today, are very expensive.
Yeah.
So for someone
and
listening,
I think you have to explain what gas fees are, because I had no idea.
Gas fee, it's the same as a bank transaction fee.
Right.
So that happens because Ethereum is set up in a way of mining, just like we talked about, where it goes across all these different computers.
Right.
And if you own that computer, you make money on it, right? You're not going to do that for free.
Right.
And so Ethereum pays them in their own coin, right? And so what happened is, you can bid on how much you want to pay to do a transaction. So it's not like the bank says it's going to be $25. Mm-hmm. These guys are saying they got their computers programmed to say, hey, I'll take the highest bid. If it's congested, the more congested that computer is, it goes to the next computer, it goes to the next, right? And the more it does that, people can up their stake and say, hey, I'm going to do this transaction if I make X amount of money. And then there's a minimum, but then it's like, if you want to have it done, you can say, hey, you know what? I'll go pay you $100 if I can just quickly get this thing done, right?
Yeah.
So the more congested it gets, the more money gets involved, the higher the gas fees gets, because I'm willing. If I want to get a transfer done, I'm willing to pay $100 to get this thing done. Right. As a matter of fact, I can't really do anything under $100 right now, right? So what they're doing now is they upgraded that, saying, you know what, you can still offer to up your bet on what you're willing to pay someone for a transaction, but these guys can't require more anymore. So how they could up their stats and say, hey, they're robots essentially, and say, hey, we're going to do this transaction for this price. They can't go say, we're going to go past this point anymore. They have a set point. They can't go past that.
Right.
And anything that goes past that, Ethereum says, instead of, paying you guys for that, we're going to take and burn our own liquidity with it. So they're saying we're going to buy back our coin. That extra that it goes over, we're going to buy that back ourselves.
Right.
And now we're going to burn that. So you can go on their burn address. As of yesterday or day before, they had burnt 1 million Ethereum. At 4,000 US, that's a pretty good chunk of change that they burned, right? So that's in 3 months or something.
So they cap the amount. They cap what you can charge for these gas fees.
That's coming up.
But right now it's anything over and above a certain amount that you charge for it. Instead of going to that person, it goes to Ethereum and they burn it off. And that essentially raises the value of everything. If you're taking some out of the system, everything else becomes more value, right? They're deflating their currency.
So they're still paying their miners with their own coin, but right now they're burning more coins than what they're paying out.
Right.
So it's really fascinating. Right now, Ethereum is becoming less and less Ethereum than what it is, and their next upgrade, Ethereum 2.0 EP, I shouldn't even say the number right now, but it's coming out. I think they're working for mid of next year, beginning of next year, and then they want to go completely to proof of stake, where you're going to be staking your Ethereum to do that, and it's not going to go through mining. It still goes through computers, but it goes through a different route. It goes through a mining rig than instead of a proof of stake, a staking rig instead of through a mining rig.
Gotcha.
So then it's supposed to be a lot faster, and it's supposed to be a lot cheaper to do that because they're not paying out more Ethereum now. They're just paying the interest rate, right?
Gotcha.
So
hard to wrap my head around. And I have more questions with the gas. So within a transaction, someone's buying something, someone's selling. Like, I'm just trying to hold it in the world of NFTs because that's kind of something you guys showed me today. I have a little bit of knowledge in that. The gas fees go up and down due to demand and how congested it is. Okay, got that. So then you were talking about people being able to set their own limits of like what they're willing, like you're setting your own gas rate or something.
It's going to be like maybe the gas is 98 today, let's say.
Yeah.
I can go pay it 10,000 if I want to get it done that instant. Like, say maybe it's an NFT and there's only one of them available or something, and I want that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's no cap on how much I can pay.
Right.
So if I pay more than the other guy,
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Right.
So it's an auction on the price of the NFT.
Right. And the buyer is selling what they're willing to pay for how quickly they can get it done. And there's going to be certain realities that are going to make that worth it to you, whether you want to get it right now, if it's time sensitive, and a lot of these things.
So let's say let's say like the concept that he used, there's only one available.
Right.
There's 10,000 people that want to buy it,
Mm-hmm.
and they all click buy at the same time.
Right. Whoever gets it done first is who gets it.
And so now it has to go through these certain chains to be verified, right? Mm-hmm. So now if I say, you know what, I'm willing to pay $100,000 to get this thing verified, there's a computer going, GGG, I want that money.
Yeah.
Boom, I'll take it, right?
Yeah.
And the minute that happens, then it
All the other guys is a transaction, they will fail.
Right.
yeah. So you then you end up with a failure fee, which you still pay.
Oh.
Yeah, it costs to fail, which hurts.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
That was a piece I was missing today when we were talking about it. I
Yes.
didn't realize there's a failure fee.
Yeah,
Well-
there's always it's
So who does that money go to? Who benefits from the failure fee?
The failure it just goes to the computers that already started trying to process it.
Right,
So,
because
so
they-
it's
see.
basically like saying you're trying to unlock a lock, like a old safe lock that you turn back and forth. That's what happens in a computer, right? So let's say there's this NFT I want to buy, and I hit buy. It goes to this link, and then there's a computer trying to twist this back and forth, and it goes 100,000 times back and forth to make sure it knows the code for it, and it's verified that that's the right code, and then it sends it over. So this has already happened, even if it fails, right? So someone has already been tinkering with that code on a cheaper price because their computer. So what happens is if you have a computer sitting that's empty, it doesn't run on any load. You know, the card is empty. It can process a lot faster than a computer that's full, right?
Right.
So now say you do this with an NFT that is, very high def. It has a lot of detail in it, and there's a lot of code in it. So it's a lot of back and forth in the computer to figure this thing out.
Yeah, a lot of workload to get to that.
Yeah,
to
a
that
lot of
unlock
computer
point.
power, processing power, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing as going and downloading a piece of software. The more complex the software is, the harder it is to download, right?
Yeah, NFTs are more expensive on gas fees than coins.
Right.
Yeah, way more expensive.
Right.
So now if you have a computer that's empty, and that's the one that if you pay a lot, then it's going to find a computer
It's going to
that's
find
empty
the empty computers.
and send it there. And if not, if it's on if you just pay the minimum, you might get a computer that's 80% capacity, and it takes it a little bit of time to do that, right?
Right.
So that's
that's all happening. That's all automated to happen
that's all
on what you.
automated.
Yeah.
So the higher you set your gas fee you're willing to pay to get this NFT, the higher quality of, or not even quality, but the freer computers it's going to use to run
essentially,
that, essentially
Bigger, better, like
right. So then, I'm curious how that, and maybe you guys don't even know the answer to this question. I'm curious how that works. Of like, is there just computers that are set up that they only turn on to start transacting if someone has a crazy high gas fee. So they're just keeping these computers open for these people that are willing to pay that extra money. And that's kind of the function of that computer.
Yes. So you can go start mining, and you can set your miner to say, I want my miner is not going to mine anything below this value.
Right.
So you might not be busy all day, right? But you only
when you are, you're making better
only
money
get
on it.
the big transactions.
And most of the time when it happens, it's not mostly, I'm painting kind of an image of a single computer sitting here.
Right.
But mostly it's
Network.
not. It's basically a freaking warehouse full of computers,
Right.
all working together as one computer. They're all separate computers, but it gives it more power. So that's, and then there's guys saying, hey, you know what? My computer is only going to do high profile or processing power things,
you
right?
can only do that the way we're not into mining, but the way I understood it is you can only crank your gas fee up to this and this number according to how much computer power you have.
Right.
You can't crank it up to 250 if
you don't have the computer power
computer.
to back that up.
You might need a C-can full of computers for that, right?
Right. And that's what caps the system. That's what keeps everything flowing. And people from bullshitting the system saying, if you're going to pay me less money, I'll run it. And you run it on a 1986 Mac.
That's not going to mine these days. Anything.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I have a bit better understanding of that. The gas fees, man. This is all new to me, right? And and like you're saying, this is more of a big thing when you're talking NFTs. Are these big things that are time sensitive, whereas coin that you can kind of buy and sell anytime. It's kind of just how many people are looking to buy that coin at one time. It's not really that there's any time sensitive. Maybe if there was a huge run on, or maybe a big article went out about this certain coin and everyone's trying to buy it at that time.
If the coin is very volatile, like say maybe I'm trying to sell when it's dumping.
Yeah.
I'm going to crank my gas up very high because I need to get it done now. Because otherwise it's going to fail because that price doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
See, this is all just a problem if you're in decentralized. If you're trying to buy this on a trading site, you're not even paying.
They're dealing with all that stuff. They're dealing with that behind the scenes, and they have algorithms that do.
It's their coin, so it's their coin. So you never even transfer coins. They just keep them in their wallet.
If you buy on a trading platform, let's say Binance is one of the biggest trading platforms. So if you buy a Bitcoin or Ethereum or some kind of different coin on there, you're not taking that through the DeFi ecosystem. You're not taking it through the Web3.
Right.
What they did is they went to this coin and said they went to Ethereum. They bought 100,000 Ethereum. They have it sitting in their wallet. Now you come in and you say, "Oh, I want to buy one Ethereum." They're like, "Okay, sure, we're going to write this on a piece of note." And now
they just hold on to all that, and they just you have a title. It's just like going to the bank again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which again,
so then you don't pay the gas fee. So for us being 100% off grid, it's a little more pricey.
Right. But
there's
way more secure, way more
secure, and essentially, how should I say, a lot harder on the tax man.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So, very important. Very important.
So.
And that's why the government's fucking hate it. Unless you're going through So if you bought through a couple grand at Bitcoin through Wealthsimple, that's taxable, right?
Because
absolutely, you make an account, you put your name to it.
Crypto, and I'm not an accountant or a financial advisor, but what my accountants have told us is, if you don't sell the Bitcoin, you can sell that Bitcoin, like buy a house with it. You're not going to pay taxes on it because you were trading asset for asset.
Right.
But once
you haven't realized your gains yet.
Once it hits the dollar, say you sell your Ethereum for dollars, now you're paying taxes, but you should not have to pay taxes if you're selling, trading ETH for Bitcoin or something like that.
That makes sense. Wow. I was missing that whole piece of the puzzle.
But that is something you have to all check into your own account.
For sure.
For that.
Yeah.
We're
Don't take
not
what we're
accountants.
saying.
we're rednecks flying.
Yeah.
We like we like stealth. You know?
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I have a much better understanding of the gas fees, and maybe we could talk about the relation of gas fees to Dutch auction on NFTs, because I found that fascinating what you guys are explaining to me about that. And it made so much more of this make sense about the actual, how does one buy an NFT? Could you maybe just explain to me again, I know you guys already did, but what a Dutch auction is and how that creates what dynamics that brings into play with these gas fees?
Yeah. So what's been happening, and this would be for someone that is
decentralized,
that is playing in the realm of crypto,
right?
Like, you're not gonna go into crypto and buy your first Ethereum and say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go buy me an NFT.
Yeah,
it's probably not gonna happen. I'm not saying you can't. It's easy to do, but it's also complicated to do if you.
And you'll probably make some big mistakes.
So
big chances of it.
Yeah.
So OpenSea is where most of the NFT trading happens nowadays, right? It's a decentralized, a platform run on Ethereum, which basically stores. They made this software to store the NFTs on, and where you can market and sell them, right?
Yeah.
What's happened ever since NFTs really started taking off like they did?
Yeah.
There's been a crazy amount of gas fees happening, right? So now let's say you have 500,000 followers on your podcast, which you might have. I don't know. Yeah.
Close. Let's call it close. Yeah.
But so let's say you have that, and you're saying, I'm gonna come up with an NFT. I'm gonna make 500 NFTs.
Yeah.
To the
call it 1,000 for easy numbers.
Yeah, let's say 1,000. Okay, let's say you have 1,000 of them. You have 100,000 followers, so that's only 1% of the people can buy an NFT, right? But you give that NFT crazy amount of value. You're gonna say, if you own this NFT, you're gonna generate a percentage of the revenue I make. You're gonna get backstage passes to my guests that I put on. You're gonna have all these different
tickets
crazy,
to a live podcast,
tickets to a live
whatever you want to attach that to give it value.
At my house, and whatever you want to put on
in the pool.
Nice pool here.
You can come swim. You can, whatever you put to it, right? But this now becomes very valuable to someone that follows you and likes your stuff, right? So they want to have it. So there's 100,000 people like 100,000 people, like you said, if you have 100,000 followers, that might want to buy it, right? And if you just do it the regular way, like they started, like they put the link out and say you can start buying these now. Everybody wants to buy them at the same time, and there's this gas war that's absurd, right?
And you might end up paying more in gas fees than you are for the actual NFT.
You
absolutely,
are for sure.
Right, and that's how it started when these NFTs were first dropping. That's how they were all dropping.
That's how they were dropping, right? And then people were starting to say, followers or buyers of NFTs were getting really frustrated. This is a $300 NFT, and I'm spending $1,000 in gas, which we have done. I kid you not. And it's kind of absurd. You're like, seriously, we're paying $300 for this damn thing, but now we got to pay an extra $1,000. So right away, it has a lot more value. I'm not going to go sell it for under $1,300. That's what it cost me, right? But So what they started doing is they said, you know what, we're going to do this on a Dutch auction. And if you're not familiar with the Dutch auction, I love them. I have a love-hate relationship. It's kind of like going to a casino and gamble, even though I don't do that. But it'd kind of be the same way, I find, because you now take and say you have a timer on it. There's 10,000 NFTs that we're selling, or 1,000. And we're going to start at
10 ETH. We'll go for easy numbers, right?
Yeah, we're going to start at 10 Ethereum. That's what we're going to sell them for. And every 15 minutes, it's going to go 0.01 Ethereum less. So in 1 hour, they are 1 Ethereum less. So every hour, they drop by 1 ETH, which is $3,000 cheaper, or $4,000 cheaper every hour.
Right.
And I can now say, where am I willing to buy this NFT?
Right.
What am I willing to pay? So it breaks up the herd of people buying all at the same time, right?
And brings those gas fees down.
Way down, because now
and the earlier you buy it, the more you're going to pay for the NFT. But if you bought right at right when it started at $10, the gas fees are going to be pretty nominal because nobody's buying at that point.
Exactly.
Or very little people are buying.
So now you're gambling with yourself, essentially. You're gambling, saying, hey, if I wait till it becomes 1 Ethereum, everybody might want to buy it, and we're going to have a gas war again.
Yeah.
And I might be ending up paying a transaction fee and not even get an NFT.
Right.
I might get skunked and pay $50 for a wasted transaction and not have anything.
A failure fee.
Yeah, a failure fee. Or I buy at 1.5, or I might buy at 10 Ethereum and say, you know what? I think this thing is worth it. I'm going to buy now, and I can go buy them all at that price, right?
Yeah.
And if you're willing to pay that, you go pay at the price you're willing to pay for it.
Right.
This is the minimum they're going to go. And that's where most people are probably going to be fighting and missing out, right?
What the last Dutch auction NFT had that we did was only one NFT allowed per address for the first 3 hours.
Oh, so you couldn't go buy a bunch.
No, we have 5 addresses.
Right. Fair enough, yeah. But at least there's some sort of limiting structure in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of, but after those 3 hours, there might be a gas war happening.
Right. Right. So there's so the way they're rolling these out is kind of evolving as this. It's growing with the system.
But at the same time, I think we have something way better in the brew house for. I say in the next 5 months, we're not even going to be talking about this anymore.
About gas fees. That's what you're explaining. So
especially with there's a new platform instead of OpenSea. Immutable X is a great. I love that platform.
Yeah.
So what they did is they took the security of Ethereum and built a layer upon it. So what you're doing is it would kind of represent going into the thing that I don't like with a trading platform, if you will, but at the same time they're decentralized. So you store your Ethereum in an address at their site, and then you don't pay that gas fee for every transaction,
right? Because
now you let's say you're a guy, like you have an account at an auction, you just put money in this place at this auction site, and now it kind of just stays in there. Right. You can still make money and sell it and send it to a different address, do whatever you want with it. It still shows up. It's not on a different chain. It's not that you have to transfer from Mexican to Canadian dollars or anything stupid. You use your Ethereum. You just put your Ethereum in this address. You pay that gas fee once to send your Ethereum there. And then, you can go buy on there without paying a gas fee. And long term, you're going to see everybody be on there.
And what would stop OpenSea from bringing that onto their platform where people could pool some money with them and make an OpenSea account and throw some in there so that you could avoid the gas fees? Do you think that's probably what's going to come eventually?
I think they're probably going to work on it, but that's the crazy side of being so early in crypto, right? There's all these growing pains that you never even thought of when OpenSea started up. This is the greatest platform ever.
Yeah.
But how did they know this is what's going to happen?
Yeah, they didn't know it was going to blow up like it did, right?
Exactly. And then maybe just not having quite the right people on the team and not being quite quick enough. And then someone else says, I see an opportunity here. Let's throw this thing together, right? So,
and that's what keeps it all honest, is there's always someone coming up trying to make it better and better, right? And that's what keeps everyone accountable too.
Yeah,
it's almost an inbuilt accountability system upon the inbuilt accountability system, which I love. That fascinates me. How cool
traffic is just getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
We have another launch that we had here, and we couldn't get, we won the lottery of an NFT, and due to having another NFT as well, we actually got 4 of them. Yeah. But we can't claim them now because he's like, this is too much traffic for my website right now. It's going to crash.
Yeah. And that's what you guys were saying was when people were trying to do these NFT drops on their own through their own websites, they were crashing every time, right? Like it wasn't, if it wasn't going through. So that scenario you painted for me earlier, was that when it wasn't going through a platform like OpenSea? Is that what was created?
Even if it goes through, like if you can go through a platform like OpenSea, but it still goes through your website, right? Like you still have that link on your website that
everyone's there trying to purchase
integrated to OpenSea, right?
Gotcha.
So
but the website's what's crashing to bring you to.
Yeah,
right? That's like the door or like the storefront where you're going to get into it, and that's what's crashing.
That starts crashing because there's 100,000 people trying to get in the door to get this donut, right?
Yeah,
and there's a limited amount. Everybody's running over each other trying to get it, right?
And everyone's willing to pay different amounts to get in that door quicker, right?
Yeah, and it's just not really fair for people that on a $300 NFT that they've saved up for. They've been working to get this thing, and now they're supposed to pay $1,000 for a gas fee, and there's some clown that has a bunch of money that just goes and buys them all, and it's like, okay, now you're out, right? So a different platform is definitely a great start for that, right?
That's a natural next step that it's going to get to. I see.
And another crazy thing we have coming that you don't even see happening right now yet is I'm really, really if you're gonna catch this train properly, it's if you buy the right projects in this, I think it's going to be like buying Bitcoin at $800.
Yeah.
And
a project would be just, I've heard you use that terminology a couple times today, but just for people listening, like what would a project be?
A coin.
Like a new coin that somebody's building.
That's coming. Yeah.
Right.
They already have a working product. They just don't even have a coin yet.
Yeah.
And if you're going to get some of those coins, the right ones, just hold on for dear life on it. You're going to do quite well.
Yeah, that's where you see the 1,000x returns, the 10,000 x returns, right? When you're buying it early.
100,000.
But exactly, right. But that's the kicker is you need to know the right people to get in on those things, right? And that's where
not just this one isn't even about right people. It's just about being in front of what's happening. You see a problem and you start searching about why is this problem, and then you start
who's
searching
solving it.
Who's solving it and how are they solving it, right? So just like with Ethereum and their gas fees, like we've been talking about for the last while. So Ethereum will not ever be able to solve it on their own all the way, right? So there is more stuff needed to make that a better platform, right? So there's a new software, a new ecosystem, a new tech thing that is starting to become a giant behind the scenes that I haven't, we don't even talk to anybody, but that I haven't really talked to anybody about. But I think we're onto something on it. And if
that's exciting,
if you want to pay attention on this one, I mean, ZK rollups, ZK rollups. Look into that.
I'm gonna write that one down real quick.
Yeah. So
that's going to eliminate our issue of switching from Ethereum network to Binance network and all that.
Well, it's not needed anymore. So I think we're gonna have an evolution of coins crumble that didn't quite cut the cake.
Yeah, didn't quite make it.
Yeah, and we're a little lazy, and then we're gonna. Not all of these are going to make it either. That's crypto is hype.
Yeah,
it's always about hype. You're going to see something with ZKS on it, ZKR. You're going to see every project says they do that and have this, and they're the best at it and whatever, right? So it's cash grabs are in crypto just as well.
Roll-ups.
So let me explain this to you.
I've heard someone talk about roll-ups on a podcast, and they were talking, and it was at the very end. They were talking, this is the next thing. This is what's coming, and it went way over my head. But it's funny, that light bulb just went off. I've heard this term before.
Okay, so let me explain you what it is. In the best that I can. It's the most complicated, stupid, simple thing. I like how you take something that's so crazy complicated. And then break it down to be so stupid simple yet not understandable at all at the same time, right? It just boggles my mind how that works. But so imagine yourself, if you will, going into a circle, a whole circle with a door. There's only one door going in. It's a cave, essentially, like a house, right? It's a circle house.
Donut.
A donut.
A hollow donut.
Yeah, a donut where you can walk around it. There's only one door going in. And
you have to draw this up to understand.
No, but for the people listening, I want to say, so ZK rollups. Before I go into that image too much, what it is, it's zero. It's ZKS stands for it's oh man, the name slipped out of my head. But anyway, it's knowledge without proving that you know that you know what you know. If this makes sense.
Ooh.
So you're saying, I understand. I'm going to prove to you I know your password without proving you I know your password. You're not going to put my password in your phone, but I'll show you that I know the password without putting it in there. Because if I put it in, there might be someone behind me that spies and now can hack that because they saw me put it in, right?
Gotcha.
So I'll just go in and never even open that password, but you'll know that I know that you know the password.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's zero proof of knowledge. That there's proof that you know it without
showing without the risk of showing.
Yes. So now imagine this donut. You walk into that door, and you know everybody watching can see. So and this comes back to the concept of being decentralized, open, and still provable, right? So you want to have the proof of being a decentralized open ecosystem where you can see what's happening, but you also don't want to be you want to keep it safe so nobody can hack it, right? So you want to have, and that's hard to do. How you want to make something that everybody can see and nobody can hack? Yeah,
which is essentially what blockchain, that's what started the whole technology, was trying to solve that problem.
So this is just a next evolution of that technology where they're saying, this donut, you walk in, you can see as a watcher, you can see someone walking in.
Yeah.
And you don't know if he's going to go left or right when he goes in there.
Right.
But you know he has to go, it's a one-way track. Whichever way he goes, he has to come out on the other side. And you don't know which way he goes in, but you know in the back end of that donut is a door with a lock. And this guy says, you know what? I'm going to go through this and I'll come out the other side so I know the password. I'm not going to tell you that I know it, but I'm going to show you that I know it without you seeing that I know it, right? So you go through this hollow donut without anybody seeing which way you go. So nobody can follow you and be ahead and watch you do what you're doing because they can't see which way you go in. But they can see you come out on the other side.
And that's the proof. The fact that you came out on the other side, they don't need to know how you got to that other door. But clearly, the fact that you got out of it is the proof itself.
Yeah, that's the proof itself.
Gotcha.
So now you walk in, you go left or right. I can't see which way you're going. And in the back, there's a door with a passcode. You put that passcode in, you come out the other door, other side, and out you come. Takes you a split of a second. You can do that 10,000, 100,000 times in a second.
Yeah.
And over and over, you show that you know the password without me ever telling you the password. I never tell you the password, and you never show me the password. Isn't that the coolest?
That is kind of cool. Yeah.
Isn't that cool? I mean, I don't have to tell you the password, and you don't have to tell me that you know the password, but we're both going to be nodding our head. Oh, yeah. I know that guy knows that that I know that you know. It's like the stupidest thing.
So then how does that solve the gas problem?
So what they do now is you can build this upon Ethereum with the safety that Ethereum has already, right? Because they're using Bitcoin. So what we're doing is we're just making it safer and faster, because the way Ethereum proves it goes through a lot of computing power, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't take a lot of computing power because it doesn't carry the password with it like Ethereum does. It doesn't go, it doesn't.
It's not sending this password to be checked by 100 different computers.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't send it it has it all in it, right? So it's way less data that it's transferring.
Gotcha.
And then if it's less data, it means it's less computing power, right? And the other thing that the beauty of this is it rolls up 1,000 transactions at once. So it takes your transaction, it takes Joe's transaction, it takes 1,000 different ones from different things. It rolls them all into one and says, I know this password for it. I know where they're going to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk through this loop with every single one of them in a split second. And boom, they're where they're supposed to be. And there they are. And how much did it cost? And it doesn't go through the chain. So now it can go out of the Ethereum chain. So it uses it starts in the Ethereum chain. So it starts in one of these chains, if you will, and then it's going to be like, no, I'm going to go to orbit. I'm going to go out of space. So that's where the risk is at, right? And that's why Ethereum is so high in gas fees, because it has to stay within its chains.
But that's expensive. That requires computing power.
That can powers all the computer power of going through each chain, right? So now ZK says, you know what? We're not going to stay in these chains. We're going to go out of these chains.
Right.
We're going to go to orbit and come right back to where we need to go and get back into this chain and prove that, hey, I knew I was supposed to be in this chain. This is the proof. Like I said, I don't have to show you. I know that I know. You know that I know. And in I am, out I was. Takes a split of a second, and there's 1,000 transactions happening.
So we can now put my Ethereum on a Binance Smart Chain chain without using a bridge.
Right.
And Binance Bridge, that's the one I always used. They actually shut their bridge down this last week
because they know that it's...
Well, they want you to verify your social insurance number in Binance trading site, and then you can do it there.
Oh, that's convenient, hey?
Yeah.
It's a bit of power to have.
It's really cool, and you're going to see this happening if you're going to be paying attention. You're going to see this pop up. I think like it's still in the works. I mean, they have some stuff going on it, but I think you're going to see that in the next half a years where you're going to see that.
Because I was hearing that, like that podcast that I heard that term roll up on, and his description, he might have even used that donut analogy too to describe it. It's just so funny. It's kind of all coming back to me because I feel like all these conversations, I've listened to probably all told, I probably listened to a couple hundred hours on crypto, right? And I still don't understand it because each one of those hours I'm listening to is really smart people talking about it, assuming you have the knowledge and I don't. So I'm always just picking up small things, or maybe somebody has a really good description of it and that sticks. But so much of this is just coming back to me. Even the conversation we're having today, I was like, I'd be asking questions, and then we get to a certain point in the conversation. Oh, I know this. Yeah, no, I've heard this before. Right? Like, it's so funny. It's if you don't have, and I think that comes back to not operating within it. Right? There's a difference between knowing something and playing with it and getting to experience it. That how human brains work, like that is a way different. Those are two completely separate things. Understanding something and experiencing something are completely different, right? And that really locks it in your mind. You guys have a way better understanding because you play in it every day, right?
Yeah. Well, we're risking or skinning it every day, right?
Exactly. That's going to make you learn it pretty quick.
Yeah. And it comes back to what I said earlier today. It's like, if you wait to understand crypto, you're never going to understand it. Just make a MetaMask account and throw a little bit of money in there and buy your first coin. Buy $10 worth, whatever. And that feel, and you're like, oh, it's actually pretty simple. I can go buy this coin as well. I can go buy this. And you just need to do that. And it's all actually pretty simple. Yeah.
It's just so intimidating, right? And that's what I told you guys. I think that's the biggest thing. And maybe that'll bring us to this, to the next evolution of kind of what you guys want to do is, kind of what we talked about earlier is trying to use your guys' knowledge to expand out, to create a name, to create a brand, to help people bridge that gap to, I'm a dum-dum. I don't even know how to set up a MetaMask account. If you guys had a YouTube channel where you did a 5-minute, 10-minute, I don't know what it takes. It
takes 5 minutes.
So a 5-minute video on how to set that up. That'd be hugely beneficial to me. And then all these other things, there's so much out there because of that intimidation factor. It creates a huge market for people to help walk people through it and just take a little bit of that intimidation out, right?
Exactly. And I definitely, that's a huge goal that I have is I when I look back from where we come, I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of people probably where I was, and it would be a shame on my part if I didn't try to help those people, because I know where I was and I know how it feels to be there, right? Yeah. So if I can do my part and get other people, out of that situation and help them out a little, I'm willing to risk the part of my day and throw some stuff out there to help those people get to that next part, right?
That's awesome.
So yeah, definitely. I think in the next couple of weeks you're going to see us be on YouTube.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's kind of what that's what started the conversation this morning was getting into that and seeing how we work together. But then it just evolved into a bigger conversation. Now we spent the whole goddamn day together. We're practically, I'm practically the third brother here, really, right? Like,
well, that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, hey, I dig it.
I come home, my lady's like, she's like, so how did the meeting go? I was like, it actually wasn't even a meeting. I was like, it was kind of like two brothers meeting up that, we knew each other, but we didn't know each other, and there's a lot of stuff to catch up on.
Exactly, it really was like that.
So it was really fun for me.
Yeah,
too,
it's a good connection when you bullshit for 5 hours in a day and you have to come back for another 2 or 3 afterwards, right? Like, it's just so much to talk about, and so many different things, and so many of those. Like I told you guys, I have a huge passion for passionate people. It doesn't matter what the passion is, right? You could be passionate about knitting for all I care. If you're passionate about it, I love that. I'm attracted to that. And to see just immediately from the first conversation started, I could see that passion you guys have for it. And that just sucks me right in. I want to learn more. I want to ask you these questions because I know I always want to ask everybody, whatever they do. I have a million questions going on, but it's kind of if someone isn't passionate about it, it's an annoyance to be asked questions. But if you're passionate about it, like if someone asks me questions about podcasting, it doesn't matter how busy I am there to talk about it because I love podcasts.
Exactly.
I would sit there talk about it all day. And I was very clear to you guys that you guys weren't annoyed by all my stupid crypto questions today. You guys were excited by it. It got more conversations going. It led to more topics and went down more rabbit holes with it, right? And that's what excites me. And I think that is the biggest demarcation of value to bring to other people. If you have that, there's people out there that are hungry for it, right? Just like with podcasting.
Yeah, well, in my messages, I think is quite simple for people, and that is, I would not consider myself made it by any means.
Yeah,
I have a long way to go. I'm not flying at my own private Global 750 yet,
yeah,
right? So I haven't made it yet.
Yeah.
So I've got a long way to go, but I've come out of some dark places too.
Hell,
right?
fucking yeah.
So I would always just say, you know what, find that fire. I don't care what it is, but stick with it. Set a goal, stick to it, and just burn, man. Burn. Yeah. Like I don't care how hot that seat gets. Get out. That's why it's burning. Right. We're gifted with this beautiful thing of how we're made. It really fascinates me how a human works, right? I mean, essentially our butt starts burning and we got it, we either sit on a cushion and it burns through, or we get out and start doing what we're made to do, right? So yeah, I mean, don't ignore that. Just start using it. Right?
Yeah,
so
exactly. And like we talked about earlier today, sometimes there's realities. Maybe it's a family. Maybe it's this. Maybe there's realities, and you never want to look down on people for not making that action because they're just doing what they got to do to put food on the table for the family. But if you're not in that situation, if there's not something holding you to that, make that jump. Take that leap. You're not going to regret it. Like you're going to regret not taking that jump and then getting settled down by all the realities of life. And it can happen fast, right? Like that's.
See, and I did it with the family.
Exactly. And that was, that was one of the questions I had with you. I brought it back to your guys' home life a couple times today to ask, well, at this point, what were your old ladies saying at this point, right? And at each level, I was, just brought a tear to my eye. I love to hear this stuff. Just that, both of you guys saying, no, they were behind us all the way. It didn't matter how dark things got, like that was like.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for what my lady was doing with her own business, I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am now, right? So that's I got a lot of debt to pay off.
Yeah, no shit.
But right now I'm still too selfish. It's kind of like when you see a thing do better in a different spot, then you kind of want to leave it where it's doing better, right? But I'll leave it with this. I did pay off more than what she gave me already.
Yeah,
right?
There you go. Yeah, you can take that, and there's gonna be more to pay, but you can always extend that timeline out into the future with a few nice gifts. So we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We're busy right now. We're making money.
Yeah. So really, really interesting.
So you guys are doing really well for yourself. You guys have plans in the future to help democratize this knowledge that you guys have gotten and find some way to do it through your own voice and not to put anything on it. You want to still enjoy it and find a way to enjoy it, but help other people get to it. Is there anything that draws you guys to help, like specifically like that people would invest with you guys, that would want to give you guys money to play with? Does that excite you guys anymore? Or does that kind of risk you don't want to take on because you've seen the darker side of it? How does that work in your guys' heads?
Here's what I say. Like, there's a lot of money to be made with that. And especially if you're well known, like let's say you become a channel that people trust and love, it would be easy to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that. And I'll give you a reason why.
Yeah.
We're working with decentralization.
Yeah.
And I want to put the power back in the people. I don't want people to give me their power. Right. I don't want it. Go do it yourself. You're going to pat yourself on the back for doing it. I'll be there all the way encouraging them to do it. I'll be there to show them how to set it up. I'll be there to give my knowledge of my burns that I've had along the past. Right. I'll be there to teach that. I'll be there to, encourage them to take that next step. Go do something. And if it is just, you're not into, I'm not a trader. I'm not this. I'm not that. You don't have to be, but go put that $100 a month in there. Like whatever I can to help people get to that point and, make a change in their life. That's by far my biggest goal. Right.
Right. And that's exactly what I thought you were going to say. And I kind of figured pitching the question like that'd be the response, because it kind of flies in the face of what crypto is trying to do is decentralize it like that. But is my follow-up was going to be, is there a middle ground there where you could, using what you're already saying, like if somebody wanted to invest, you'd say, well, I already have go to our YouTube channel. It shows you watch this video, this video, this video. It's going to get you set up with a MetaMask account. It's going to give you the basics of what we're doing, kind of the basic breakdown. You can probably pick 4 or 5 videos that if you watch, you're going to have enough knowledge, and then just guide them through. So they're still doing it themselves. They're still controlling all the money, but you almost, you can almost get paid just in guidance of just, hey, these are our hot tips of the week, but maybe you want to do that for free. I don't know. Right?
I'll do it for free. Right. I don't want to pay. I don't want to get paid for that. I'll do that for free. If you're willing to take time out of your day to say that, that's something worth pursuing, then it's worth for me to give some of my time to help you do that. Yeah. I mean, I'll have benefits somewhere else for that, right? I don't. What goes
around comes around. If you're doing
absolutely,
that,
right?
What good you bring to the world, and that's exactly the way I think, and that's very much. But I think that's quite rare, and I think that's beautiful to see that in you guys. And I think that's why we're kind of kindred spirits and why we connected so quick, because we have that in, right? Where I think over the course of that 5 hours, I think we found more and more play. We're different people, clearly, but a lot of the same beats, right?
What really fascinates me though is how different our backgrounds are. Like I mean, if you look from where I come and from where you come, we clearly come from different upbringings and from different wealth perspectives too, right? Sure. I mean, huge differences, and how that has. People always say, well, if I had a rich dad, or if I had this or that, and this just goes to show that. It does not make any difference. Yeah. The fire is what's needed. The desire is what's needed, and the will to win, right? Yeah. So all that other stuff doesn't really matter. I mean, we're all just humans, and don't ever beat yourself up when you don't come from that. Yeah. Take that as a tool, learn from it. I mean, we all have a different path, but that's what I find so fascinating. That's what I love, because I used to be that guy that was dreaming about, I wish I just come from a different,
different starting place.
It doesn't make a difference. Yeah, it really doesn't.
And you've proved that, right? Like it doesn't matter what you.
If I can do hard work, that, I mean, then anybody can.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Maybe if we were growing up with investing, we would have bought Bitcoin in 2008.
Maybe. Who knows, right? And that's what I think. I think the lesson in it is that you can't dwell on it, right? And you never want to devalue yourself by thinking, oh, if I had something different. But you also can't devalue yourself to say that, like with the I think it's kind of a double-edged sword, because like if you were born into it, I think you'd lose the hard work, which is such a key factor to your success you have now, and every, success you had before, the failures, right? Of all that stuff. It all comes back. The common theme throughout the whole thing is working hard at whatever you guys are doing at every step of the way. When you guys are telling me your story today, hard work was a factor in every fucking one of those steps, right? You're always working hard. And if maybe you would lose that, and that is so key to your guys' success, that maybe you wouldn't have that. You'd have the knowledge to do it, but maybe you wouldn't have the drive to, that, because that's me, right? And I told you guys, I knew that Bitcoin, and I believed it in 2012, but pure laziness, right? Of just not getting into it, not taking that leap, whatever it is. And I'm sure there's a billion people around the world that have the same story of whatever I heard, right? It was a YouTuber, Noah J456, who I love. He's a video game streamer, and I have watched him for a long time. And he was mining back in 2012, 2013, 2014, right? And I heard all about this, and I understood it, and I listened to something. Oh, this is kind of the future. I believe it. Did I do anything about it? No. And then in 2012, 2014, 2016, as it's going up, and up, and it's doing everything I thought it would do, did I jump in at any point? No. Lazy, right? Just laziness, right? You can't really peg it anywhere else, but that's a different thing. Whereas you guys, when you saw that opportunity, because of the realities of what you've been through, you jumped at it, right? Whereas if you had different realities, maybe you wouldn't have, right? So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And there's always positives and negatives you can take from it, but just to understand, kind of the lesson is just, why waste your time thinking about all that? Just do what can you do today?
Exactly,
right?
but that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter where you come from, where you are. If I can, by no means am I, like I said, I'm not flying a private jet, but man, I've come a long way from where I was, right? So I mean, if I can come to that, I'm at a spot where I know a lot of people would say, I can semi-retire. Yeah. And I say I've only started. Yeah. I never plan on retiring, right? So you
still got to drive that Lambo back up to crete.
Should I tell you a funny story?
I think you should. I think you should.
So this last guy I work, I'm not gonna name. I should, whatever, right? Yeah. So I work for him, And I told him, someday, and I didn't get fired there or whatever, right? But it's not like it's not like he fired me for doing what I was doing. That was at a different place, right? But this guy was kind of like, you're kind of really full of hot air, right? And I am really good friends with his first cousins.
Yeah.
And we've become real good friends. We work together and we've become good friends.
Yeah.
And I would tell him, like, you know what? I am a very, very strong believer in you become what you think about. I can't stress this enough, and I'd like to go into that rabbit hole a little if we can, because I think that's really what made me more than anything else.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this last summer, I'm on a wedding. My best friend gets married, or one of my good friends that I used to work with together, and that's the cousin to the boss that I had. We both worked for, right? And he always liked bringing me down as far as he could, right? Kind of backstabbing, not in a I'm way tougher than that. Like, you can't kill me that easily, right? Like I said earlier, if you think you can be a prick, I can be a way bigger one.
Yeah.
And anyway, we're sitting there around and with a bunch of guys, right? And he's like, "Oh, hey Ben, you know what? I was in Texas this summer, and I was driving past the Lamborghini dealership. I was really thinking about you." I was like, "Oh, really? That's cool."
Yeah.
And because he's trying to make me into an ass for whatever, right? And I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." I was like, "You know what? I was really thinking of buying one this spring, because I can buy a Lamborghini with Bitcoin, and that way I don't have to pay taxes on it, and I got some money into the ecosystem." But I was like, it was kind of a dumb idea to take. Because I didn't want to put that money in the ecosystem. I was like, at first I thought I was going to, take a couple $100,000 to buy a place or use it for whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, but I decided to just leave it in crypto.
Yeah.
And you should have seen his face.
I bet. I bet. Holy. Bet you that felt pretty sweet, hey?
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
That's awesome.
He didn't once talk again during that whole wedding about Lamborghini ever again.
That's the end of that story. Oh man, I can't imagine his face when you drive up in it one day. Might have to hop in with you for
the
that
look
trip.
on his face when I said, "You know what? I was thinking of buying one this." And it's honest. Like, me and Joe were discussing, like, hey, if we want to take money out, why don't we do that, right?
Yeah. And that's the perfect something you can buy, an asset you can buy with it tax free. Like
like we were.
I haven't talked to
the Lamborghini. I can never remember this word.
Murcielago?
No. Murcielago.
Oh.
The manual ones. And back in spring, we could buy them for $500,000. They're selling now for 1.5.
But anyway, I mean, it was just,
just a funny story to
it's just really funny. I mean, we actually were talking about doing that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how this works. I haven't talked to I'm no expert. I'm not an accountant, right? But I know we can go that loop one way. You still always end up paying taxes, right? And it's not like I'm trying to avoid 100% taxes. Yeah, maybe
if we can.
If you can, but at the same time, you know what I mean. I'm not trying to be crooked, but every which way around, I will definitely use it, right?
Yeah,
it's not about how much money you make; it's about how much.
Any chance they get to fuck you, they'll take it. So you kind of got to do a bit of the same back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for me, it was that was just one way, right? And it's a funny saying that you really see who your friends are when you tell them a success story.
Yeah.
And that just really showed right there. Yeah. It was not like, "Oh, wow, congratulations."
Yeah.
Oh, hey, no, it was not.
and that's funny because that's so foreign. You see it all the time, but that's so foreign to me. Like my friends, like my best friend Chase, he just went on a trip to Toronto and saw his favorite band and his favorite EDM show, right? Zed's Dead. They were playing 2 nights and he went and he just had the most amazing time. I see so many people that get kind of bummed about it. I was so excited, and he's in Hawaii right now living life, and I get so fired up knowing that he's enjoying life because he's my best friend. Like that's so foreign to me to think of being upset at his successes that he's doing, that he's enjoying life and he has a job he loves, and that fires me up and fills me up so much. I'm so excited about it. That idea of being unhappy for your friend's success is so foreign, but it's so common. You see it everywhere, and it's so hard to wrap my head around because it's so antithetical to who I am and probably how I was raised, right? And that probably can all be given to my parents, all that praise. That's how they raised me. But like, I just don't understand how you couldn't be like that. Like, it just,
well, and that's the thing. Like, for Joey, we've mentioned his name a few times, and he's become like a above and beyond friend from what anybody should be.
Yeah.
Like he goes over the top, and he makes me very, very humble on I've never asked for anything. I've asked for advice, and he hands out way more advice than what I'd ever asked for. He hands out way more time than he ever should. Mm-hmm. He hands out, way more skills than he ever should. Yeah. He hands out more connections than he should. Yeah. Everything, right? It's just phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But you should have seen the face when I told him the success story. When I told him that, I have never in my life seen someone so happy for the next person. Yeah. Like he had tears in his eyes, how happy he was for us, for the success we had. Yeah. Like, where do you see that? That's a true friend right there. Exactly. I mean, that was just phenomenal.
I got goosebumps just think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful. Like
and you know what? And this is where I wanted to wrap that into you become what you think about. Yeah. Because should I tell you a funny story about that?
Of course you should.
Because when we moved to Slave, I'd lost everything. Like I said earlier, right? Yeah. I'd lost, family was against me, friends were against me, they backstabbed me all. Yeah. And the ones that, I didn't trust any of them, right? And so we moved here, and I said, I'm not having any friends, right? I'm going to pick and choose who I'm going to be with, and I'm going to be very selective, and it's going to be people with a good mindset, right? Yeah. And on weekends, me and my lady would drive around town, not knowing anybody. We'd drive around, pick up a coffee, and we'd drive around town and just explore and
people watching.
Well, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any road. I didn't know nothing here, right? So I'm a redneck at heart, right? Like a real redneck. Yeah. And we drive around on a truck and any bush road that I could find, you name it and claim it, right? Yeah. But I drive past Joey's place often, more than I should have.
Yeah. That easy to do in Slave Lake,
No, but I'm saying, the only road where it goes to is what? Graveyard. I didn't have anybody there that I knew there. Yeah. But I'd go to the graveyard quite often to go past Joey's place. Yeah. And I told my lady so many times, I was like, someday I'd love to meet up with whoever lives there. I was like, I wonder who lives there, because I was like, someday I will meet up with him. I was like, that's gotta be someone that I think has a real good mindset. And here I am. And that really gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because that really showed me you really do attract what you want, right? Yeah. And most people would not believe that, right? So it's crazy to think that.
I've believed that my whole life, but I never talked about it, never told anybody that, because I just thought people are going to think I'm crazy if I ever spoke to people of how truly I believe in that, right? And I got to see it time after time of just how lucky I was, and how things, if I really believed in it, and how things would kind of work out that way, and just how hard it was to explain to people, but I always believed it. And one day I was listening to Joe Rogan, right? Which, as you guys have heard today, not a rare occurrence, but he had Lex Friedman on. I think it was the second time he had Lex Friedman on. And the first time I fell in love with it. I was just, this guy is amazing. And just couldn't believe what he had to say and his mindset, and how clearly he came from a place of deep love and compassion, right? That's what animates him. It's not greed. It's not any of those things. He's a very pure person, right? And that's what I love. And that's what I saw in you guys right away. That's what Joey, right? That's what I hold in high esteem. Doesn't matter how much money you have. That's what really matters to me. Yeah. So this guy, this Lex Friedman, is only my second time here. And on the second time on Joe Rogan, he's talking, I'm starting my own podcast, and he's talking about it. And he starts talking about how, exactly what you're talking about, how he knows it's going to be a success, because when he puts his mind to something, it just kind of happens. And he starts talking about it, and how he knows that he's going to have Vladimir Putin on one day, because he just knows that if he puts his mind towards it, he's going to have it. And I'd never heard anybody speak. So it almost felt like he was telling my story of just everything he was articulating about that self-belief and how it manifests in the world. I've never heard someone that smart that I look up to that much talking, because I know I'm never going to talk to anybody, but I'm going to keep this quiet. And that was the moment I knew I was starting a podcast. I can go back to that. At some point, I knew I'm going to have a podcast one day, and I know it's going to work out because of that. Right. And it's so funny, because that's the biggest animating thing. And that's what keeps me going. Like, when times get tough, and there's always ups and downs in this journey, but I know that I have such faith in that. And that turns into faith in yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I would say, like earlier when we talked about what got us out of it, I think that's where I started really learning self-development too. Like like I went on this self-development journey after I lost everything.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's a good time for it.
well, yeah, I gotta get my man.
What else are you gonna do?
Dude,
Fuck. Really?
Dude, I had nothing, and you know, the only thing I had was to try to improve myself, right? And I went on this crazy journey with that, and you know, I ended up in Vegas in an event. I used my last. This is how hungry I was to grow for myself. We used our last thinking dollar. I filled up my credit card to go to an event in Vegas that I could not afford. A 3-day event for some kind of seminar for personal development. That, you know, I don't know why we did it. It was,
but the good thing about that event is that event was not a waste of money like a lot of other courses. That event changed my life. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, it a lot of my who I am today is because of what I experienced that weekend, right?
Fucking right.
And it's crazy, like, you know, it just goes to show that, right? But that's where I really dove into, you know, the power of the mind, right? And I don't think there's a lot of people that have read more or listened. I was sitting on a processor. What else would I do? I'd listen to audiobooks, right? And I think I listen to every book on the mind that you can. And it just really, really fascinates me, and it's crazy. And I think I can contribute everything to that, right? So
that's awesome. What was the event that you went to in Vegas? Who was putting it? Was it Tony Robbins or
no? It's a AWOL event. It's Todd Campbell.
I don't think I heard of him. But
yeah, he's not that well. He's not that well known.
He's not well to known. Like he's not that well known, but he is very, very good.
Yeah, very powerful. Hey,
very powerful, and I think a lot more personal than if you go to a Tony Robbins event, right? Because there's 100,000 people. There were 70 people in this group, right?
Oh wow! So a lot more intimate.
A lot more. Like we had one-on-one time, right? And the lessons.
In the evenings, you have a drink on the balcony and talk with him, right? And like that
goes a lot longer way.
That goes a long way as well, because he can personally read you and talk with you, and like you kind of get his vibe, like, hey, this is.
Have you ever reconnected with him since and shown him what you guys have done since then?
No,
fuck, would that ever be cool, man? You guys should hit him up.
I have to,
and fucking be like, hey, man, like, fuck, when, like, because he probably knows your story. If you talk to him, he probably knows, you know, what you guys been through, and to see where you guys are now, that'd be an amazing thing. That'd be a good video for your YouTube channel, man.
Yeah,
just throwing that out there. You can have on that one for free. I'll waive my fee on that one.
No, but I it just blows my mind, and I think people really need to get into that. Like we always throw our power away to, you know, the government, and I know we can get crazy on that one. But at the end of the day, you still got to look in the mirror, right? And most people aren't willing to do that.
They do, but they do not. But what most people focus on is they focus on, I have to pay this bill, I have to pay this bill, I have to pay this bill. What are you going to get? More builds. Because you're throwing energy out builds. Your subconscious mind doesn't know better if it's true or not. It just reads builds. Okay, I'll send you bills. You want bills? I'll get you more. And that, it sounds stupid actually, but that's how
it's got to change it and think about $100 bills, and then you got something else coming your way, right?
For sure.
It sounds really corny,
but it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, I was kind of kidding, kind of not kidding, right? Like it's there. Yeah.
Have you ever? I read this one book. I can't even recall the name now. When we're talking about mindset, they had a study. This is back in 2002 or whenever the Twin Towers crashed. They had these devices out that would read human energy. You know, because humans throw off energy, right? And they have these across the whole world. They had them in the big cities everywhere, right? And they had them for years, where they just monitor human energy, and it always the same, right? I mean, there's a little fluctuation on that, but the day the Twin Towers crashed,
9/11, 2001,
there was a huge spike. They were sitting there and like the computers are going ham everywhere. And they're like, what's going on? This has got to be a short, right? Or computers screwed up. Something's not right? And they didn't pay attention to it because it was just, you know, just like that. And it settled back down. And later on, when they went through it and they looked at it, they're like, there's got to be more to this. And they tried understanding it. And then they started connecting the dots, and they saw, you know what? That was the very minute to the minute that the first plane touched that tower is when those things started spiking.
Wow.
And it gives me shivers to think on that, because that just goes to show how interconnected we all are. Yeah, and I mean,
there's crazy story after crazy story that'll tell you the wild aspects of what consciousness is. I've listened to a bunch of podcasts.
I'm not an expert in it, right? Yeah. But I use it for my advantage.
100%, and that's
not near enough.
Yeah. And it's funny once you understand, once you get a taste of it, of the power that's within all those things, whether it's self-belief, whether it's understanding of the depths of what consciousness is. Once you get a taste of it, you realize how much more well off you are because of that, and how much further ahead of others that don't understand that. And I think that's putting towards personal growth, right? Like that was same for me about probably 4 or 5 years ago. I really went hard on that journey of self-improvement and actively trying to do that. And that immediate change of realizing, of just setting yourself on that path, you opens your eyes to kind of the wasted efficiency you've had before that of not trying to do that, and what doors it opens, right?
Well, the problem is it's not like it isn't working when you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
It's just working probably not in your favor, right? So that's the biggest problem, right?
And, and there's so many issues with self-talk. I mean, that was my biggest issue. I had such issues that I think a lot of it stems from, I had a lot of body issues. I was a pretty fat kid growing up. I always had, and I hated getting bugged about it. I had some real self issues. So then the voices in my head were always beating myself up. Oh, you're an idiot. It was very negative, right? And to try, and I still struggle with that a lot. I'm speaking like I've got over that. By no means have I gotten over that, right? I'm a lot better. I'm in a lot better place now, and I still am struggling every day with it. But from changing, I'm just making a conscious effort to change those negative things to positive things. You don't realize how often that programming is running in the background, right? It's like you're mining negative, you're mining shit coins in the background, or you could be mining something that's actually worth it for you, right? But you have to understand that that's constantly a process, and that's what's going on, right?
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to get rid of a limiting belief.
It is. It's really hard. They're in deep. They're in deep.
Yeah. You grew up with that.
Mm-hmm. And it's painful to work them away, right? And everything worth something is painful, right? You got to suffer for anything that's worth. That's life, right? It'd be awesome if it wasn't, but that's life. But that limits so many people from doing that, right? Nobody wants to sit and looks in the mirror and either not lie to themselves or start doing the work.
Strip yourself naked and look in the mirror and say, this is who I am. You know, if you like it or not.
Yeah.
If you want to change it, there's only one guy that can change it, and that's the guy that you're looking at.
Right. And once you start doing that, it's so much more. There's some things you want to change, but 90% of it is just learning to love what's there, because there's things you can't change. You just got to learn to find ways to appreciate about yourself, to love what that is, right? And then the things that you can change, that you would feel better about yourself. Now you can start to make those, right? But if it's so hard to start making those changes if you don't love the base of what's there, the core of what's there.
Look in the mirror and hate yourself.
For sure, that's
But I'm saying that most people aren't willing. You know, I hear this all the time, especially in crypto. I hear this all the time in the Twitter feeds, and and name it and claim it. Like it's always someone else's fault why they
it's always external.
And it's like, dude, crypto's but as decentralized as can be. Yeah. It's an open book as far as can be. Yeah. And you're going to blame someone else for
it's all on you. It's all on you.
You know,
right at the end of the
that's
day.
hard.
Yeah.
How can you do that?
That scares a lot of people away because they don't want that accountability. They love having someone else to blame. And unfortunately, I mean, this is apologies to listeners because I get on my soapbox about this almost every episode about this, but society is designed to show people an easy way out, or to always tell them that's okay. We're going to help. Not only is it always someone else's fault, we're going to give you those reasons, right? And we're going to always give you and show that's a positive aspect, to be able to blame the external world, when if you want to be something or do something, you have to take it on. It has to be internalized. Even if you get the wildest shit kick of the can, a hurricane comes and knocks down your house, and you know what, your lady runs off with your money or whatever, you need to find within that what internal factors you can take on, right? Doesn't mean you need to take on, but you can't just blame the world, right? There's going to be times where the world shit kicks you, right? That's a reality.
You know what? It's there for a good reason. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it when it happens, but it is, right? Yeah. I mean, further down the road, you're like, dude, had this not kicked me in the butt so hard, I wouldn't have gotten up, right?
Yeah.
And
like going back to like even all the stuff we went through, losing everything. Yeah. Looking back now, I wouldn't even want it any other way, because I benefited severely out of it because of what I all learned and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And this is 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can see something 4 years, a lot of that stuff might take 20 years, and some of that stuff you might never know.
Right.
But you can still learn to benefit from it.
Yeah. And if you have faith in the process that it's all going to work out, and that you're constantly learning from things and you're always getting better, and you don't get bogged down on crying and bitching about the things that did happen. If you just always understand it, you might not even realize what those things you got out of it are, but just to know that you get something out of everything, right? And if that's the mindset you're working with, you don't even need to know what it is. Sometimes it's going to be obvious of the lessons you learn. Like, I think you guys learned some pretty obvious lessons from what you went through, right? And there's probably a lot of really not obvious lessons that you're just now figuring out that you got from that. And there's probably for the next 20 fucking years, you guys are going to be finding new lessons that you learned in that process back then that you didn't realize have been affecting you ever since then.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Sure. It never changes, right? And it never stops. And that's probably why I'm so fascinated on crypto too.
Yeah.
It is, if you find it so intriguing as me, because probably most people don't, but when you do and you really look at the decentralization of it and the open book it is, we really have to stop blaming other people, right? I mean, just like I said earlier, I mean, now is the time. If you want to be in this rocky, crazy roller coaster, now's the time to get on it. Yeah. When it's flat sailing and everybody's pointing fingers, I'll tell you what, when you got to hold on for life on a roller coaster, you're not pointing fingers at nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's really when it's fun, when it scares the living daylights out of you, that's when it's fun.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's, for certain people that sounds like the exact opposite of fun too. Yeah. But that's kind of what when we're getting into it earlier of telling people, like almost, crypto is an amazing resource for change if that's what lights you up. But more so of kind of my message is whatever it is that lights you up, find that and chase that. Oh,
absolutely.
Right? Like, that's the important part, is just find something that animates you. Just if you're sick of working for somebody else and putting money in someone else's pocket and there's something you're passionate about, chase that shit, right? And my big message is crypto is this wealth of opportunity. It's just so ripe. There's nothing in the world that's as ripe with opportunity as that. But if it doesn't grab you, like it grabs me, I find it fascinating, but whatever it was, something held me back from diving into it. I don't know what it was, because it fascinates me. I think you guys can tell by all the questions I asked today. Like, this is something that is, or maybe it's a limiting belief in my head that I just think this is so complex, I will never understand this. There's no point in trying. I'm just gonna pick up what I can pick up, and I think that's that limiting belief that this is just too complex for me to understand. Right? I'm never gonna get it, so I never fully tried to get it. Right? I was just satisfied with whatever understanding, because to me, I know more about crypto than 99.9% of the world. Still, when I talk to you guys, I'm like, holy shit, I know nothing, but I was good enough with that, right? But that's limiting myself. If I would have thought about it, I can get a good handle on this and I could make something out of this, I probably would have put more time into it.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's the beauty. I mean, this is not everybody's road, right? Absolutely not. And I don't want to, just because I'm doing well does not mean other people will be doing well. Right. If they put in 6 years of trying and failing, they'll probably do pretty well. But are you willing to do that? And what percentage of the population has that in them? Has that grit, whatever that is that keeps a guy going? I think that's more rare than anything else. Yeah, right? But what the other thing that fascinates me on crypto is, like, we talked NFTs and stuff, and I think we both have a mutual friend in singing, right? Yeah, like Hunter, you had him on your podcast, right? We're actually. I can't say too much, but we want to help him with an NFT project for that. So, I mean, it's just, the opportunities are very endless. If you're an artist, if you like designing and drawing, you like digital art, you like making digital art, go and put it on that platform. You like drawing, you can put your drawings on there, and you'd be surprised what people pay for it. I mean, I really like to see that they're taking the middleman away from things and just giving it back to the to the person with the heart. Yeah,
and especially things like the music industry that has been so, like, the artist,
that excites me.
The artist has been so shit kicked through the music industry, and every time they claw back some control, like when LimeWire burst on the scene, I think I made this example to you guys earlier of just, that was a huge boon to the artists of being able to, you didn't need a record label for people to hear. If you started on your own, people could download. It was a decentralized music system, right? And that was amazing. But then they use streaming to claw that power back, and now they hold it all, and you need to get on their streaming platforms, and they centralize all that power. It decentralized. They went in with their Hoover vacuum and vacuumed it all up, got it back to them, and then the next thing changes, the next thing, and they keep getting a little bit of power and then they take it back. What's special about blockchain, applying blockchain to that, is it prevents them from clawing it back.
Other than like a guy like Facebook comes in and does something
exactly
like that, too, right?
that tries to overhaul the whole thing, and maybe that would be the next thing. Maybe Sony Records or whoever the biggest, I don't fucking know, whoever the biggest music player is, makes their own metaverse and tries to monopolize any musical NFTs, right? Like that's the place you want to go if you want to have any success, right? That would probably be the next step of what they're trying to do. But if you get in and it grows at its own rate and it gets to the point where the market's been filled already, you don't leave the door open for those guys to come in.
Yeah,
right?
well, and my biggest warning is don't go with those.
Exactly, don't go with those.
But there's always lazy people.
For sure, right? Yeah. Like that's me. That's why I bought Bitcoin from fucking one of these guys. And not only that, like, so did my dad. Bought Ethereum, so that's the same thing. But and that was at my doing. But that's completely different to me because I know better. Right? A guy like my dad, he would know better. That's probably the best fit if he wants to get into. If it's between him not getting into crypto at all versus getting into crypto, kind of flying in the face of what it's actually standing for, he doesn't know any better. Me, I knew better than that, and I still did it out of laziness, right? And I knew that that is completely against what it stands for and completely against the decentralization. And that's what I believe in more than any singular coin. I believe in the power of blockchain technology and the decentralization of power. That's what I love, but that's what excites me more than anything. Is I'm, my whole shtick, my whole thing. Like people that listen to this podcast probably know, like, fighting centralization of power is kind of that's my whole bag, baby. That's what I'm all about, right? And
I'm in with that,
right?
100%.
And blockchain is the biggest flag carrier for that. That's what unites people that think like us, that see the power of it, right? Like, I almost think the money that flies around blockchain almost does a disservice to what a powerful medium for change it is, right? Like, and the only way to work in this society is to attach money to it to get people to look at it, or people wouldn't give it. Yeah, wouldn't look at it twice. Right?
It's almost endangering to have that much money in it, because it brings the big corporations back into paying attentions, right? Mm-hmm. So like,
it was kind of nice when it was operating in the shadows a little bit. Right?
It was. I mean, it's nice to grow bags and grow your stacks and all that. But I mean, the way Bitcoin did so well to decentralize as good as it did, and not one guy buying it up, is because who flipping knew what Bitcoin was for the last 8 years?
Right. And that was almost core to its functioning. And now you see these coins trying to come up in a new age where you don't get that benefit, right?
Exactly.
You're going to have people on it right away, especially if it's a good idea, right? Where Bitcoin was such a powerful idea, but there was no Bitcoin before it to bridge that gap of knowledge to get people to understand how powerful that idea was, right? When I first started listening to podcasts and people really breaking down, not just there's some money to be made at, trying to show the power of what blockchain technology does. That was what really opened my eyes. Like, oh shit, this isn't this.
It's not about making the money.
Yeah, what we're seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum, that's just the first couple steps. This technology is going to change the world in so many ways, and that's why I told you guys why about Bitcoin, because I believe in the long run, blockchain is going to change the world in a million different ways, where we can't even imagine all the different ways it's going to change. But as that process starts to happen, the lemmings of the world are all going to be, blockchain is changing the world. Okay, I know Bitcoin. To me, blockchain and Bitcoin are, or not to me, to Joe Schmo on the street. I think for a lot of people, those are almost the same thing to them. They don't understand the difference. So I wanted to bet to where they're going to throw the easy money at, right? Like that was my decision making. Whereas I believed in Ethereum more because it goes in line with what I believe in from the blockchain. They're more so trying to bring that world to life of what we see in the future, right? They're trying to usher it in, right? Yeah. But I just figured it might be a better bet for my money on it, right? Like my heart's with Ethereum, but my wallet was with Bitcoin, kind of thing, right? And that's why.
I mean, I think Ethereum is outperform Bitcoin in quite a long shot. Yeah. Just because of the giant that it is. I'm saying Bitcoin is probably safer than Ethereum is. For sure. But I'm saying, Ethereum is probably where you're going to see a lot more growth per percentage wise than what you're going to see in Bitcoin in the next little while at least. Yeah. But and
more so with every layer that gets built upon it, right? And you could say that too for Bitcoin with these level 2 and 3 and the Lightning Network that's being built upon it. But it just seems like that is more building upon something. I'm trying to articulate the difference. It's like Ethereum was made to do this. They're trying to kind of like back end Bitcoin into doing these functions, whereas Ethereum was built with the process of being built upon and being changed to fill those roles where they're, you know what I mean? Like that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big difference that can't be discounted, right?
Well, Ethereum was there to support Bitcoin and say, you know what, we're gonna not just why just hold Bitcoin? Why not use the beast that it is and make it into something worthwhile, right? Why just hold it if we can actually build a brand new world upon it, right? I mean, if Bitcoin is the world, then Ethereum is the oxygen for the world, right? I mean, it's crazy. Really exciting.
It's so exciting. That's like the biggest thing of anything is what I would tell people is just looking. It's fascinating. It might seem, I feel like some people think because Bitcoin is built off blockchain, and what is blockchain but math? I think math is boring, and they just have this idea that this stuff is boring when it's the most fascinating shit in the world. You need to do a little bit of work to understand, for it to be fascinating to you, to get past the first initial barriers of understanding. But once you do, it is the most fascinating shit ever. I love to learn about it. It's every time Lex Friedman has a Bitcoin guy on, I jump for joy. I'm excited for that conversation. Jordan Peterson, who's not a finance guy, he's a psychologist, a self-development guy. He just had someone on, had a 2-hour conversation on Bitcoin last week, and it was fascinating, right? And to hear a psychologist and a human development guy try and navigate and learn the stuff. It's fascinating to me of hearing these other people try and wrap their heads around it. And I feel like you learn from listening to people wrap their heads around it, right? You can see where your blind spots are, where they have where they're misunderstanding, where something you get already, but they might get something that you don't, right? Like that's the part I love. It's almost fascinating for me just to watch my own understanding grow and watch others around me understand and grow, and to always be a little bit ahead so I can enjoy watching other people come along, right? Like I get a real kick out of trying to explain the stuff to my dad, which I don't understand it well enough to articulate it, or I understand it enough to understand it, but not well enough to articulate it back to people, like you say. So you're trying to do the best you can to get the gist of it across, right? Using whatever language you can. And, he always, like, he's asking me, well, what, can you tell me a book to read? Or like, can you give me something to, it's like, I can try, but it's still, no matter who it is.
It changes too fast. You
and
can't
it changes
write a
so
book
fast.
on it.
You can't write a book as fast as that world is changing.
Exactly.
Right?
Which is why you need a YouTube channel so you can update daily on what's happening and what's changing in it, right? And keep people up to date. And it's nice to have a personality. That's the biggest thing of all this stuff is the personalities that you convey it through. Like I have all these personalities I listen to, all these podcasts I listen to, and I get to take in this information through this medium, right? And you have it tied to a personality that you enjoy. I'd listen to, like just talked about Jordan Peterson. I love the way his mind works and how he thinks through everything. So now this Bitcoin thing, that's just a extra cherry on the top. I'd love to watch him think through anything, but now it's something I have a passion for, right? It's like if he, if he had someone on from the NHL and they're talking hockey, right? Like, oh man, I get that my two passions come together with it. It's just like an extra cherry on top for me, right?
Absolutely,
like,
right.
And the more things you can become passionate about, and the more voices you love to listen to and just hear the way they think, the more you get to set yourself up to be rewarded with these amazing little episodes. I mean, that's my specific world. I love podcasts. That's what I'm all about, right? But like, I think you could probably find that and equate that to anything. And I think there's just power in having voices you trust that you don't need
absolutely.
to.
Well, we're not. I don't think we're going to do like 3-hour long podcasts on our YouTube
fair
channel.
Fair enough.
But we want to have it somewhat entertaining for people that say crypto is boring.
Yeah.
But kind of have it interesting in a way that they say, you know what, I'm learning something, but it's entertaining at the same time. And then also, if I want to buy a different Jeep to go deer hunting with, that I'm going to do it with crypto to show that, I can use this to do that. And
which is a message that needs to get out there, right?
Yeah,
people
absolutely,
need to understand that.
So stuff like that, make it kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, I'm not in a spot where I'm willing to go spend a ton of money, ton of my hard-earned crypto to go buy dumb stuff yet. But hopefully down the road, I can really start doing some of that crazy stuff as well. And make that channel entertaining with doing stuff like that, right? So
and then you get to share it with people too, because people get to go along with that ride with you, right? Like that's what I was talking to you guys and Joey about, of following a podcast from its not infancy. They're already pretty big usually by the time you find them, but to go through that as a fan and to see the trials and tribulations and the ups and downs. You're so much more connected with them too. Of people want to follow those stories and they want to live vicariously through you, right? Like maybe they'll never have it, whatever that inner gumption it takes to really throw your hat in the ring. Maybe they'll never have that, but they get a little piece of it from following you guys and get to, you know, live a little bit through you guys and enjoy the wins that you make and cry with you guys on the losses and all that. Like
the cries, like the other day, what, you know, we going back to NFTs. I mean, I don't know how much time you have, but
all night. I think 6 a.m. was what.
6 a.m. was my time.
Yeah, the cutoff.
but you know, we bought these NFTs. You know, we saw these things take off, and I was like, you know, this is going to be the next blue chip. We always something that's like, you know, going to be the next level thing. We say that's blue chip stuff, right?
Yeah, like the blue chip stock,
yeah. And I'm like, I got a good feeling on these NFTs, you know, and we didn't buy them on mint because the gas wars were just too insane, and we didn't quite know, like.
And buying on mint is like the initial. It's like an IPO, right? Like the first.
Yeah, it's right when they launch. It's buying on a launch. You don't even know what you're buying on a mint. You're getting a random one. You don't even know which one you're getting, right? And the gas fees were just insane. And you know, we're kind of staying away from them for a few weeks, and then you know, they really started taking off. I think they doubled already when we got in. They're like 1.5 ETH when we decided, you know, we're gonna get us a few of those, right? So we buy these, and we bought one. It's like, man, I kind of like the vibe that they have in their Discord group, right? Yeah. And I'm like, this is kind of fun. I'm gonna go buy another one, right? I'm gonna use this as my avatar for a while, right? I gotta have one too. So you know, we go buy another one, and then 3 days later, we're like, you know what? It's kind of fun buying those things, right? We're like, you know, we're gonna go buy us another one, because this way, if they really take off, this is what I don't like about NFTs is, you know, you buy one. Let's say you're a guy that's starting off, and even for me, I don't like putting too much skin into one project. Right?
You like to diversify.
And now you're paying, you know, $4,500 or like $8,000 for one NFT. That's a lot of money you're putting into one.
A lot of eggs in one basket.
Yeah, a lot of eggs in one basket, right? But if you just have one and it takes off and they provide a lot of value, you don't want to sell. But you also need profit, right?
Right.
So we're like, well, we both want to have one for our own.
Yeah. To hold on to.
And to hold on
to make a little money off it too.
So we're going to buy 3, right? So we bought us another one. So now we got 4.5 Ethereum in it, which is like 20 grand. Yeah. Right. And we're like, ooh, that's kind of feels good, but that's a little scary, right? Yeah. And they're doing great. I mean, they're holding their floor price. They're going up, and, you know, we're having fun with it. And Monday morning I wake up and the floor price is at 0.3. I mean, the everything fell out of it. I'm like, how is this possible? And I go through, because it was a great community, right? Yeah. And apparently cancel culture got the best of them. Oh. So apparently the artist that drew these were all hand-drawn pictures. And the artist that drew them had been drawing pictures back in the 80s on you know, how they had cartoon magazines, right? Yeah. And he was, I forget which magazine he was drawing for, but quite a controversial magazine. Like they were basically covering crime and in cartoons and showing how stupid a lot of the crime was, right? Yeah. Basically making it over crazy from what it was to show how stupid a lot of the stuff was that was happening back then with black people in jails and all this kind of craziness that was going on, right? So they drew it to extreme to show how dumb it actually was. Yeah,
they're parodying it, really.
Yeah. So now all of a sudden someone saw a picture that they had hung a black person, right? And I mean, people are going crazy. They're selling everything. They're like, I can't support this guy.
And he was doing it in support of black people and trying to show the product. I actually heard of it. I didn't know you guys were bought in, but I heard about this. I think one of the good podcast listeners, he was using this as an example.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody just sells
jumped right out.
Yeah. And I'm like, and giving them away. And I'm like, I made a tweet on that saying, you know what? If you don't support it, I don't support racism at all, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't look at people's color. Yeah. I hang out with anybody, right? Yeah. And you know, I was like, if you don't support it, then why go sell it? Why give it away?
Yeah.
If there's something I don't support, I don't give it away either. I burn that shit. If I don't like it, I burn it, right?
Yeah.
I was like, don't give them away. Don't go sell them for dirt cheap just to be out of him. If you don't like him, then go burn him. Go put him into a burn address, right? So, but that is just fun fact on NFTs. You know, they can, kind of.
There's
I'm still holding
there.
them. I support that guy. It's, dude, he was actually supporting those people, right?
Yeah.
And they've come back a little. I mean, who knows what's ever gonna become of them?
But who knows? Maybe that story. Maybe
Well, they're really strong. That's a strong community, and they're basically using that like we use our story.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't doubt give them a few years and they'll be.
That's what I was thinking.
They'll be back, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a lot of money you have tied up
for sure.
For
Yeah,
3
yeah. It's
years
easy for me to say, "Oh, that'll be fine when I'm sitting out here with no skin in the game." Yeah.
You put 25 grand into
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I'd have to sing in a
and you're
different
sitting
tune.
stuck on it while you could have been using it for something else and worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's probably how you look at through everything as the lens of if money's tied up somewhere, that there's always opportunities coming where you can turn it into something else.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, I mean, why have something sitting that doesn't make you anything? Like I could have put it into a different one and tripled my money,
Yeah.
And that's just the story of life in crypto, right?
Pretty much.
So
I'm curious to ask you guys just a couple kind of just like finishing questions type of thing. Like, what would be the things on the horizon that like something like that ZK roll-ups and stuff? Like, what is the thing on the horizon that you guys are excited about? Like, what excites you about coming in the future that's maybe not here yet, but you think is going to be big?
Well, like I said, ZK rollups is a huge thing.
That's huge, yeah.
Gaming and NFTs.
Yeah, the combination of those two things,
those
two worlds.
Well,
they're already
they're one, right? I mean, they're two different worlds, but they're one. And
be careful on which games you buy.
Yeah,
there's a lot of hype in it, right?
Yeah.
But those two, if there's excitement, there's fraud. I don't care what you do in life, but if there's something that's good, when
there's someone taking advantage of it.
Yeah, when gold was doing good, they try to sell fake gold, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
life. That's
life.
human nature. Yeah.
Yeah. So
being aware of that is important.
Gaming and NFT really, really excites me. I think those two things combined, being in the right projects, doing some homework in them, can more than pay dividends for like way wilder than you could ever imagine.
Right.
It's going to happen. It's just a matter of, because you look at gaming as a couple $1 billion industry. Gaming is a bigger industry than what crypto is combined right now. Everything in crypto is combined. So and it's a matter of time, and they're already working on it to bring that over into the crypto world, and it will come. So now imagine an industry that's bigger than the crypto industry is right now combined to be one part of it.
Yeah.
That alone should raise a few eyebrows and say, you know what, that might be something I should maybe pay some attention to, right?
I bet.
So that really excites me, like the ZKs for the decentralization of layer 2s in general. That really excites me. I think that's a huge thing. There's some of those things, but I think gaming and NFTs right now,
that's where it's at.
That's really what's happening. I really excited about music.
Yeah, but that's cool for me too.
That's part of the NFT industry, right? So NFT in general.
Yeah.
And who knows what's going to happen 3 weeks from now?
Yeah. There could be some new thing on the horizon.
It's like I said to Joe the other day. I was like, we didn't dive into NFTs because we didn't understand them. I was like, the next thing that comes into crypto, that's a totally different, crazy thing from what we thought ever would exist in crypto, and I don't understand it. I'll throw darts at every single one of them. Yeah. I don't care if I film at them, but that's my new strategy from now on. Yeah. Because I do have some extra money to throw at that right now.
Right. You're in that position to make that call, right? If you were to ask you 2 years ago, you wouldn't be in that.
No, I would not do that.
You've earned the right to get to that point.
I would not recommend doing it that way. Yeah. I'd say that's a dumb idea. And that's always conflicting to people that say, well, I want to be where you are at, and that's what you're doing. But that's not how I got to where I'm at. Right?
Go fail for a couple of years first, and then
go get some good skin in the game.
Exactly.
Like if you have a lot of money and you don't care if you throw at it and it goes away, then go knock yourself out, right? But it's still smart to go learn and understand it. But what I'm saying is, like NFTs, we would be so wealthy, stupid wealthy, if we'd just taken advantage of that. But we were like, well, we don't understand it, and this is kind of stupid. I'm not gonna. What's the point, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big lesson I learned. I'm like, not happening again. If there's another crazy thing coming to the crypto world of that's like kind of like NFTs was in a different world, I'll throw darts at every single one of those things.
That's cool.
Because they're usually, this is how they happen. They happen behind the scene. You have to be involved in crypto to find it. And they're dirt cheap all the time. It's never an expensive thing. People always think the next big thing that comes in crypto is going to be, advertised on New York
Stock Exchange.
It's going to be on the, Times Center, Times Square broadcast somewhere, right? It's not. It's a creepy little weird thing that gets into crypto that doesn't make any sense. It looks like a joke, and it feels like a joke. But get into it.
Yeah.
You can make a very simple explanatory on that is like what is the most useless coin? The two most useless coins in crypto right now. It's Doge and Shiba.
Yeah.
Okay. They're on the number 1 page of the market cap.
Yeah. Due to not and there's nothing to dictate that by the actual, there's nothing in the code. There's nothing that has added value of security or utility that makes it. It's all memes. They're useless. Yeah. They're junk. Right. And if you're in it just to make a quick buck, right? Like that. And that's what, I think that also muddies the waters and makes it hard for people to understand because they're just trying to wrap their head around what these things are. And there's shit coins like that if you understand it, to me, it makes a lot of sense. I totally get why they're valued that way. And I got to watch it happen and have a little bit of understanding.
I got to experience it.
Exactly. Right. And how did you guys buy in on that? Did you make some good ones on those?
I can't say too much, but we bought SHIB when there was 4,000 holders in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I still hold SHIB.
There you go.
So
that's awesome.
We've been selling SHIBs every time we want to do something. We sell a little bit more SHIBs.
I always say,
it feels like a cow that never goes dry.
Yeah.
There's always 40 ETH left for you.
We're always like, man, we'd like to get into this project. I'm like, let's go skin a few dogs.
There's always money in the banana
and I'm not saying this in a way that I skin a dog. Shiba is a dog, so
funny.
Yeah. So no, we did very well on that one.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love to hear it now. And that's what excites me because now that I know somebody that now I can get excited about those things when I see it, right? It's nice to know somebody that has skin in these things because before it's always like, I heard about it, but it kind of passes by because you have nothing to connect you. And not that I have any skin in the game, but just to know somebody I feel so much more connected to that world, just knowing you guys and that you're invested in it. Because now I care because I want you guys to do well, right? Now I'm almost leveraging. And I think that's a powerful factor that when you guys get the YouTube channel up, I think that's going to go right. Because you're likable guys, right? You got a great story and people are going to connect with that. And when you win, they're going to win, right? And I think that is the power of.
Well, I hope they do, right? That's the.
I have a lot of confidence, right? That's exactly what's going to happen, right? And hopefully I can help,
reason. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, hopefully I can help tell your story in this matter. Once a month you guys come on and talk about how it's going, right? And right, like you say, you don't need to do your own 3-hour podcast. You got one right here. You can hop on whenever you want to, right? And you can do and just check-ins like that. And hopefully every time we do this, I've got some more people to send your way. You got people to send my way, and you grow together, right? And then
exactly. No, it's been great for you to have us on. I mean,
really it's been so much fun.
It's been so much fun.
We've had a great time all day, right? Like we're putting in a full crete 12-hour day here together. I think that's how you bond. I'm curious. Another question I got is, I'm sure with gaining this knowledge you guys have, you talk to a lot of people on the outside of it. I'm sure people come to ask you or somebody that knows you and is asking about, what do you think the biggest misconceptions are that people outside of it that are agreeing to this stuff of what did they misunderstand about Bitcoin and crypto in general that you see over and over again that you're constantly explaining to guys that they have wrong?
They think it's a currency.
Yeah. That's the biggest one.
But that's a big one.
Yeah.
People don't understand the power behind.
They don't understand
crypto.
the technology.
They don't understand the technology. They just look at it as a digital currency.
Right.
It's not a digital currency. It's a digital platform that you can own.
Yeah. And it functions in ways that are similar to currencies as you've seen them.
Better,
but that doesn't make
way
it
better than
way better. Yeah, but that doesn't
better.
make it a currency. And I think that even in this conversation, I think there's been times where I've slipped into that, and you guys have kind of corrected me on that, because I'm still, as much as I understand that, I'm still stuck in that way of thinking. Right? Sure. Like it's really hard to snap yourself out of that. Well, like, even knowing full well.
I don't say it's not, you can't use it as a currency, but that's not what it is. It's essentially is a product that you can own a share of, and that would be like the best currency that you could have. I mean, why wouldn't you use something that is a product that everybody needs and uses, and use that as a currency, because it's a limited amount? I mean, that's just a great combination right there, right? And then the other thing that I think is a big thing that I see people, especially some of the people that I've talked to, is everybody wants to get rich overnight. Yeah. Because they hear the story, just like I said, like, we were in SHIB from, when there's 4,000 holders. Why did we get into that one? We got into that one because we saw a trend coming, right? And people buying now into a trend that has already surpassed. There's going to be people like me that were in from 4,000 holders that have a lot of those coins, and they bought them for nothing. Yeah. They're going to be dumping on you. You're basically exit liquidity for them. So it's, something that you already hear on the news, you're probably too late. Yeah. You're too late for that one. I'm not saying you can't make money on it, for sure, but the risk of that is too high. Yeah. And then the other thing, go set it up yourself. Go decentralize. If you want to do it in a decentralized way. Other than if you are a person that does not have any interest in it, and you have enough interest in it to say, you know what, I understand this is the future. I understand I want to have some skin in the game. Then go set up an account on
Coinbase.
I like ShakePay personally. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
It's a Canadian one. It's treated me fine so far. I mean, who knows?
They do have a very big problem with support if you need it.
It's not that they always come through with support, but it takes a few days.
Takes a while,
And
it sucks to have your money stuck for a few days. That has happened to me a couple times with them.
So I'm curious, as you guys that are so into the decentralized world, what use do you guys have for
ShakePay or something?
Like I'm curious where that would enter your guys' world.
That's how we get our money in our bank account.
If I want to take money out and put it in my bank account,
which you guys do rarely, like for the reasons you've already explained.
Whatever,
like just enough to stay alive, right, or whatever, right? So stuff like that, and help a few friends buy some crypto every now and then. for sure. So then I use that, right? But it, like I say, if you're someone that just feels like, you know what, I have $100 spare and I want to, I see that this is. It's not done. People think they're too late. It hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be prepared for a rocky ride and put some money in it. Yeah. Just look at every $100, like that's $100 that you burn. Yeah. Who doesn't burn $100 a month? I mean, I'm not.
Just don't look at it. Don't stress over it. Just let it
exactly.
Do
just put it in there. Put it in Bitcoin or Ethereum or split it. And just walk away. And then maybe, I would still recommend having it in a decentralized place, but at least start with something like that, right? And grow, because I see so many people that I get phone calls on. And it's like, hey Ben, you know what? I heard about this coin. I heard about this. If you don't know anything about crypto, start with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Work exactly. And if you're intrigued, work your way up. Work your way up. And you're gonna but don't do that through the news. The news is the last place you want to go for crypto. The last.
That's where you laugh at and be like, I'm going to cash.
Yeah, exactly. That's when guys like you are just licking your chops when you see it get to CNN or Fox or something.
Absolutely.
That's exactly when all the lemmings come in, and that's where you guys. That's where the real money.
The minute if I'm in a project that has hype, like SHIB for an example, and everybody starts talking, that's where we're like, you know what? I think we're going to take some money out now.
And same as Shiba would be an example on that as well. Again, that's why we buy decentralized. 99.9% of the time, you can buy that coin 3 months, sometimes it's a year in advance.
Before it's on any of those.
Before it's on a centralized exchange. So we dump on those guys that buy.
Yeah. Which is, and that that's kind of how it functions, right? Like
Yeah.
a little bit,
not to scare people away from going on a Binance. But what I'm saying is, you know,
don't worry, we wait until you're in profit as well.
yeah.
No, so it's just, you know, but it is riskier going and doing it there because, you know, there's a lot of tricks that you got to learn on that, right? I mean, there's false addresses, and if you send it to a false address, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
And where if you do it on a ShakePay or Binance or something like that, you're not going to have that problem.
Right.
But,
they dummy proof it a little bit, and you
they
lose something for
dummy-proof
it. You pay for that, right?
Yeah, but you pay for it. You're not gonna. You're gonna look at any project that's on Binance and look where it started in you know, CoinGecko. That's CoinGecko and
MetaMask. They kind of go one and one.
Yeah, they go hand in but CoinGecko and what's the other one called? CoinMarketCap. Those are the two places that they list every project that's in existence, basically, right? So you can go on there and they have different categories. I don't know why I use CoinGecko. There's some people like CoinMarketCap better. They have a few functions that I like better, but I like my CoinGecko. And you know, you can go through different categories. You can go through the gaming category. You can go through the DeFi. You can go through lending. You can go through borrowing. You can go through, you know, all those different layers of crypto coins that are out there,
right.
and you can look at, you know, whatever you want, right? But there's false ones on there too. They try their best to, you know, weed those out, but they still
they're going to squeak through. Yeah.
The CoinGecko is not a dummy proof system or where, you know, anybody can just go and say, hey, I bought the real deal.
Yeah.
But what CoinGecko does is they make sure it is the correct address for that coin.
Right.
And even if that coin might be
fraudulent or
not
what they're promising,
whatever, that address is the correct one.
Right.
And a lot of times people buy this coin. It's like, hey, I bought this coin already. He's like,
no,
it's
didn't.
not on CoinGecko yet.
Yeah.
And they bought a fake address and just sent their ETH into somebody else's wallet. And he's like, thank you, buddy.
Yeah. And there's
like,
those people out there to chomp on those idiots, right?
Pisses me off.
Yeah.
Pisses me off.
Yeah.
I mean, why?
Yeah. Some people are just out there to.
They're always going to be there. So
yeah. Yeah, that'll never change. Those people will always be there, but that's what comes with learning the lessons, and that's why if you're new to it, stick to the ones you know, stick to the ones that have name value. Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Like I say, stick to the main ones. Stick to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and if you feel brave, venture into a few different, bigger market caps already that are proven to, you know, in existence. But we always say, buy the rumor and sell the hype. Or sell buy the rumor and sell the news. Yeah, because you know, that's just how it works. And you know, crypto tends to go in cycles, right? Where there's cycles where you know, it does really, really well, and everything is green, and everybody thinks they're an expert, and you know, it's just green. And then there's months of just real blood. I mean, everything is red. And when people are scared, that's when you should actually get intrigued and start buying. Yeah. Like that's where you'll make your money. When everything is green, I'm not saying you can't do well, but it's riskier than when everything is red. Right. I will rather see red than green in a way. Yeah. Where I get more excited on buying than selling. I mean, selling is fun, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But when I see a project that I believe in and it just dumps and I'm 50% negative, I'm excited, man. It's time to go buy some more.
Buy some more. Yeah. Right. And all the smartest people that I've heard on Lex Friedman's podcast and these experts they brought on the Flagrant 2 and stuff, all the smartest people say exactly what you're saying about that. Those are the times to buy. And they always say, just pick an amount per month. Don't try and game the system. Don't try and buy a dip. Don't do any of that. Just the same day every month and just put that money in and don't try and play the game. Don't think about it. Right. Like, and it's nice for me to hear that you guys, with your knowledge, coming to this point from a completely different, it's not like you heard these people say this too. You've come to that same realization of the best way for these people to get into the market, and you're matching with these guys that get paid big bucks to be the experts, and you're saying the same thing, right? That gives me a lot of faith. Not that I didn't trust you guys already, but I think for people listening, that's good to hear that from everyone I've heard on this, you guys are saying the exact same things of what the best way to get into it is, right? It's
that's just the reality. I mean, when everything is red, it's just, that's fun. I mean, you know, when COVID started, what is it now? 2 years ago?
Yeah, getting there.
Yeah,
a year and a half too.
That's when we were through our last low cycle, with, if you will. Like, we kind of, you know, were done trying leverage trading and all this fun stuff, and just lost our last Bitcoins, and, you know, name it and claim it, and we're trying each month to do whatever. Like, that was the time to buy. I mean, people were scared shitless, and you know, there's a friend of mine. I have helped him out quite well after that, but I told him, I was like, look, I was like, I'll put my life on the line. Yeah, go buy some Ethereum. It's $70. Yeah, and we hadn't known each other that well, and why would you trust someone that has no money, right? I mean, that has just lost their shirt, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't blame him, right? But what I said, I was like, dude, go buy Ethereum. Yeah. I was like, and he's like, I don't know. And later on, I mean, at $1,500, I think he reconsidered, and I think around $2,000 is when I actually got him started, right? Yeah. But I mean, so he's doubled his money, but he could have, you know. Yeah. Well, we did some behind the scenes stuff for him. He did way more than double his money. But yeah, it's been great to see your friends succeed in that too. Yeah. And I mean, it's no fun to make all this yourself. I mean, plenty fun to do it yourself, but it's more fun. Funner's not a word. More fun to bring people along for the ride, right? Like, that's the more, like, it's fun. I mean, the more people I can see win, the happier I get. I mean, that's just a very fun part of life. And I feel like that's almost, from everyone I've seen in the crypto community, that seems to be almost part of whatever the ethos that is that floats around this whole crypto community is a bit of that, of they want everyone to win, right? Like, they see that this is a transformative technology that is helping people, and they want to see that. They want to see more people get in and win, right? Doing it the right way. They want people to get into it, to understand enough to be doing it like you guys are doing it. And if you're not willing to understand it and to care about it and to go all in with it, that's the guys that are just, you know, buying late on everything and getting into it at the end of the day. But it seems like the people that truly care about it, there's this idea of wanting to spread that knowledge and spread the wealth a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's the point, right? I mean, you know, if you can have more people do well, then why not, right? Yeah, I mean, I think 90% of crypto is 99% probably is like that, but there's always that 1% that really likes, they're there for themselves and just to screw people over. Yeah. So you always got to have whales. There's a couple whales that are there to screw people over as well. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if you dominate the market like some of them people do, I mean, I can't say I really blame them having some fun and just, you know, watching people react. Yeah. Right? Elon Musk sends one tweet and that's the whole market go to shit. Yeah. But that's the joys of playing in that, right? Is there anything that you guys thought I was going to ask you about that I didn't? Anywhere that you thought we'd go, or things we talked about earlier that maybe we missed? I don't think we have. No, I don't know. I think we covered her pretty good. That's what I think too. And luckily, we can always do. If we did miss anything, we can always do it again. And there's always new things. Yeah, I mean, I think people will have to watch the whole episode to make sense because we were all over the place. Yeah, right? Exactly. So, I was like, maybe we should have done the explanation of what blockchain is at the start. Yeah. I always throw a bit of a description on it. Maybe I'll cover a few of the important points to make sure they get it. They understand it too. But I think that's what makes it natural, right? It's a good conversation. Absolutely, it does jump around, but that's, you know, sometimes that's what it takes to get people to understand it, right? Just to kind of buy into the story first, and then pick up a bit and pick up a little piece here and a piece there. And there's going to be, everyone listening to it is going to have everyone's going to have a little bit of different knowledge parts of what this all is, right? There's probably going to be people listening to this that have better idea, that are closer to you guys than me, that know much more than this, and they're going to be and there's people that are way past me too. For sure, exactly. Yeah. I'm just thinking the people that know way past you guys are probably not listening to this podcast. That's what I was thinking. Hey, don't degrade yourself like that. Oh fuck, that's awesome. Yeah.
No, but like what you said earlier about, same as with you having, you bought your Bitcoin and Ethereum on centralized. Yeah. you said because you're lazy, but it's also because you didn't know how simple it is.
Right. Yeah. And I was so
to set up
intimidated
a
by everything
MetaMask
else.
and
Right.
this stuff.
Exactly.
That's what we're trying to do with setting up our YouTube.
Is to take that intimidation factor out.
Yeah,
That's exactly it.
We'll have to do
people
this.
see. We want people to see, like, hey, I'll set up a MetaMask account and show you exactly how to do it and how simple it is, and then we'll go to the next step and to the next step, and just break it down for people. That
make it bite sized, make it digestible.
That when they see a MetaMask or Etherscan, whatever, that it's like, hey, I watched this guy do that. I'll just do it the same way.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what we're trying to do as well with that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really noble goal, and I think that is exactly what is needed, right? Like I think that lines up with my experience of my buying experience. That I would have loved to have something like that from somebody I trust that would help show me that it's not that scary, right? Just to take some of that fear away and to kind of walk you through it, hold your hand a little bit, right? And to show it's not that complicated.
Yeah, and if I can help other people from sending stuff to the wrong address, I'd be happy to, because we've done that.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you've made that mistake, so hopefully others won't have to.
Exactly. Yeah. I hope I hope they make mistakes, because that's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
If it's a little painful, I like that. I like seeing people have a little bit of pain, not in a cruel way, but if you want to get in and you're serious about it, I hope you have some screw ups, because that's really what's going to teach you a lesson, right? So buy a few fake NFTs and go send some money to the wrong address and buy a few rug pulls. It don't really hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Buy a fake NFT. I did that the other day. Out of stupidity.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we've been wanting to buy these NFTs, right? Like, yeah. All right, I'll buy it right now. I was like, all right. Then I looked, it's like, this isn't the correct one. I try to cancel the transaction, and boom, it was approved. Half an ETH gone.
But hey, like that's the story, and I think that's great for you guys to talk about that too. That even when you do have a pretty good handle on it, that shit can still happen, right? Like I think that's good for people to know that it's not just at the start. And I think what you're saying is what's also good about making those mistakes is if you don't, you're going to get cocky, and when the mistakes come, it's going to be a bigger mistake. You want to make those mistakes when you're still getting to know it and you're dipping your toes in it.
Do it when you're still playing with $100 a transaction.
Exactly. You don't want that to happen, right? You want that to happen when you're dipping your toes, and you don't want to be fucking 20 kilometers off of land when that shit happens. Then you're in some trouble.
You want to know how to swim before you're 40K on the ocean somewhere, and then you got to swim.
Exactly, yeah. I think there's going to be tons that people can learn from this. I think this is the start of a really fun relationship. I think we're going to do a lot together over the years, and I'm excited to see what you guys do. I'm excited to see how I can help along the way, and probably learn a few things from you guys along the way too. And just, thanks so much for the awesome day, boys. I fucking enjoyed kicking the whole day with you guys.
Well,
thanks
awesome for having us. And I really am very excited to see where you're going to go too. I mean, it's so exciting, like I said earlier, to see two different people from two very different backgrounds,
united by a passion kind of thing. Yeah.
United by a passion in kind of the same way is really fascinating to me. So
me too.
So that's exciting. So no, I definitely like to stay in the loop for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks one more time, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for having us.
All right. See you, boys.
Bye.
All right. Thanks for all of you guys that listened right to the end. I know that was a long one, but I just thought the conversation was incredible. And like I mentioned in the intro, if you listen to it, that isn't even all of it, guys. Like their story is insane. And having said that, to be such bright, cheery, motivated, passionate guys through all that just blows me away. And I just hope that you guys get to experience a little bit of their story from today, and I can't wait to bring more of it forward in the future. Please check out their YouTube channel when it drops. Blockchain Bros. Go on social media, shout them out, let them know you heard about them here. They're great guys. If you're listening to this and you live in Slave Lake, if you see them on the street, you might not recognize them because this is only audio. Dumb Nick, way to go. But maybe you hear their voice, maybe you some other way. Say hi to them. They're great guys, and I love Slave Lake so much, and I love the community so much. I want them to get that same feeling. And I feel like from what they've been through and what they've seen of what community can be so far, they've seen good and bad. But I feel like what Slave Lake has to offer, I know they could really help these guys in what they're doing. And if you're one of those people, just keep it in mind. I don't know how that's going to work out, but for some reason that felt like the right thing to say, and that it'll pay off sometime in the future. Other than that,
please do all those same things I just said for me. Follow the Von Dubcast, share the Von Dubcast, listen to it, tell a friend. Those things really help. I love that you guys listen. You guys are what's keeping me going these days through the good times, the bad times. I appreciate you so much. I hope you had a wonderful holidays. I hope you kick 2022 right in the ball sack and just ride it all the way through to New Year's and next year. Yeah. Other than that, just tell the people that you love them. Don't be afraid. Even if you're a guy. I know I mention this every time. I just feel like it's important. And yeah, have a wonderful day. Bye. 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 Bye.